Chapter 346. This is the Overlord's stone tablet. When the spirit race's ancestor saw the stone tablet, he was deeply shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Aren't we holding the Overlord's stone tablet? Obviously, the spirit race's ancestor was also kept in the dark. He didn't know that this was the real Overlord's stone tablet. Many people had never entered the spiritual king's road, so they didn't know the situation inside. After all, the previous spiritual king was the spirit race's ancestor, and the next spiritual king was supposed to be Lei Yun. However, Lei Yun didn't meet the requirements, and he betrayed them. Thus, only the spirit race's ancestor had seen the stone tablet. Although Yi Qingxian was the saintess, she couldn't become a spiritual king. If she became a saintess, she couldn't become a spiritual king. Moreover, it had always been a male spiritual king. There had never been a female spiritual king. It's not the Overlord's stone tablet. Mine is the real Overlord's stone tablet, Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. Moreover, I have a big matter to discuss with the ancestor and the elders. Ancestor and the elders, please come with me. The saintess as well. Yi Tianyun's face was very serious. It was obvious that the matter wasn't simple. Can we also go in? We aren't spiritual king candidates, Elder Yen and the others frowned. It wasn't that they didn't want to go in, but the rules were like that. They couldn't break them. Now that I have the Overlord's stone tablet, I can already become a spiritual king. If I let you in, you should be able to enter, right? Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. Let's go in. I think he knows something is wrong. That's why he let us in to take a look. The spirit race's ancestor didn't say anything else. He was also curious about the whole matter, especially the Overlord's stone tablet. They looked at each other. Since the ancestor had said so, they had nothing else to say. You guys stay here. We'll go in first. The ancestor signaled them not to move. The matter wasn't clear yet, so he waited for them to come out and announce it. Yi Tianyun nodded his head and led them in. When they came in one by one, they were all frozen by the cold wind. Yi Qingxian was also frozen, but Yi Tianyun, who was standing at the side, released a wave of energy that enveloped her, preventing her from being invaded at all. Thank you, Yi Qingxian said softly. You're welcome. Yi Tianyun led them on their way. Off to the side, Lei Yun saw the patriarch and opened his mouth to say something, but the patriarch and Lei Yun were already off in the distance, ignoring him. When they were about to reach the border, the old ancestor reminded them, be careful later, you will fall into the trial. Ancestor, don't worry about that. Just leave it to me. Yi Tianyun took out the tyrant's stone tablet and slammed it down from the sky. Boom! After the heavy stone tablet slammed down, halos of light spread out in all directions. In an instant, the scene in front of them turned into a long and narrow tunnel, which was the path to the end. This. The old ancestor was shocked. Although he was a divine inscriptionist, it was still impossible for him to break the illusion so easily. If he was the one to break the illusion, he wouldn't feel any pressure at all. After all, he was already a pretty good divine inscriptionist. Although he couldn't be compared to the ancestor, he could at least break the illusion that had existed for many years. The problem was that this was used as a trial. Breaking the illusion would be considered disgraceful. Let's go. This is the effect of the tyrant's stone tablet. After saying that, Yi Tianyun led the way. After everyone entered, he immediately put away the tyrant's stone tablet, and everything returned to its original state. The tyrant's stone tablet could suppress this place, but it didn't mean that it could shatter it. Luckily, many of the divine inscriptions here were at the Grand Master level. If not, the tyrant's stone tablet wouldn't have been able to suppress the tunnel. When they reached the end, they immediately saw the life crystal. When they got closer, they immediately felt the surging life energy, which made them feel extremely comfortable. After which, when Yi Tianyun touched the life crystal, the ancestor's divine sense appeared once again. This thing could be released many times. If it was just him alone, it wouldn't be very convincing. Very quickly, after listening to the divine sense, they were all deeply shocked, especially when it came to the tyrant's stone tablet. This meant that the previous spiritual kings were all imposters, and they didn't conform to the rules. This time, they were in an awkward position. Even the spirit race old ancestor was embarrassed. They had made a big mistake. The previous spiritual kings weren't spiritual kings at all. You all roughly understand. The source of your power is the life energy. It's very simple to solve this problem. Just look for a place with a more vigorous life energy. At the very least, it can't be any weaker than this life crystal. As long as you can find the life crystal, you don't have to worry no matter where you go. Finally, there's the tyrant's stone tablet. Only with this stone tablet can you be considered a spiritual king. When I first came here, I really didn't succeed. I only succeeded after many attempts. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. I wonder if any of you have a divine rune stone. I do. Yi Qingxian took out a divine rune stone and gave it to him. After Yi Tianyun took it, he summoned the tyrant's stone tablet and aimed at a Grandmaster level divine inscription. He used the divine rune stone to inscribe it, and the Grandmaster level divine inscription was instantly inscribed. Basically, he didn't even need a second to successfully inscribe a 5th grade divine inscription. It wasn't difficult at all. If it wasn't for the cooldown time, he would have really crazily inscribed it. He would have definitely made a fortune. However, being able to use it once a week was already quite good. If he could directly inscribe a Grandmaster level divine inscription, he would be able to sell it for a high price. However, because it was the most standard divine inscription, it didn't have many levels, so it was impossible to sell it for a high price. Although a weapon could continue to inscribe another divine inscription after removing the divine inscription, who wouldn't want a better one? However, some people who were short on money could buy standard divine inscriptions at a slightly lower price. However, the difference in price between a first-level divine inscription and a standard divine inscription was shocking. Look, Ancestor, is this the one you obtained before? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. Yes, this is the divine rune stone. I extend my hand and inject spiritual energy into it, and the divine rune stone will appear. According to the previous spiritual king, this is a sign of recognition, the ancestor said truthfully. If that's the case, then it's correct. It's completely wrong information. If you inject spiritual energy into it, the tyrant's stone tablet will coincidentally have a divine rune stone inside, and then a divine rune stone will appear. This is the proof that you have become the tyrant's stone tablet, the proof that you have become a spiritual king. Yi Tianyun said. I failed before, not because I wasn't qualified, but because there was no divine rune stone inside. Chapter 347. This was definitely a huge blunder. After knowing the truth, everyone felt very embarrassed, especially the leader clan's patriarch, who was even more embarrassed. He was the spirit king, so he knew what had happened. The most important thing was that he was a fake spirit king. The previous spirit kings were all fake spirit kings. If it was announced to the public, it would be even more embarrassing. This was especially true for the disciples of the spirit race. When they heard about it, their faith instantly collapsed. The previous spirit kings were all fake, they were not qualified at all. They didn't even get the Overlord's stone tablet, how could they not feel embarrassed when they called themselves spirit kings? I invited everyone here to talk about this matter. Should we announce it to the public? I suggest that we don't say it. Let the past be the way it is, it won't benefit anyone. Of course, every spirit king is qualified to be a spirit king. For example, the ancestor is qualified to be a divine rune grandmaster. If he is not qualified to be a spirit king, then no one can be a spirit king. Right now, the most important thing is to find a stronger life crystal, or find another place to live. As you can see, the life energy of the life crystal is very weak. I think it will be completely consumed in a few years. At that time, even if we stay here, we won't be able to reproduce. Yi Tianyun looked at them, everyone's face was very heavy. This was a moment of life and death for the spirit race. Fortunately, they had discovered it early. If there were no problems, they would be dead after a few decades, or even 100 years, if they still hadn't discovered any problems. I agree with the Spirit King. Let bygones be bygones. Just treat it as a beautiful mistake. Right now, we are thinking about the life crystals and resisting the Netherworld Empire. The spirit race's ancestor didn't want to avoid the past mistake, he just wanted to keep thinking about it. Which was more important, they needed to know how to judge. Yes, I agree with the Spirit King. But I didn't expect such a big mistake to happen in the past, it's really unexpected. They all shook their heads, they had already decided that Yi Tianyun was the Spirit King. Not only did he obtain the Overlord's stone tablet, he also saved the entire spirit race. No matter what, he was already qualified to be the Spirit King. Yes, now we need to think of a new strategy. We need to keep collecting information about the life crystals and buy them in bulk. That way, everything will be fine. Yi Tianyun said in a low voice, vital crystals are rare, but no matter how rare they are, there are still ways to collect them. To the spirit race, life crystals are the source of life, so we have to collect them no matter what. Yes, we must collect more life crystals. As long as we know how to solve the problem, everything will be much easier. Yi Tianyun nodded. Their eyes shone with the light of hope. It would be best if they could find a solution. This had been bothering them for a long time, as they had thought that it was some sort of curse. Now, it seemed that as long as they collected more life crystals, everything would be fine. It seems that ancestors' request for us to control the tyrant's stone steel before finding out the solution is a little harsh. If we can't control it, won't we really die? The spirit race old ancestor shook his head. It wasn't easy to control the tyrant's stone steel. That's not necessarily true. If there really is a problem, I believe that the spirit race will choose to retreat from this place. Yi Tianyun said, the problem lies with the previous Spirit King. He couldn't control the tyrant's stone steel, so he thought that the divine vein stone was the tyrant's stone steel. He made a big mistake. If we really want to convict him, then the second Spirit King will be the greatest sinner of the spirit race. This wasn't an exaggeration. He had lied in order to become the Spirit King. Although the spirit race was united, they didn't lack petty people. Fortunately, the second Spirit King was already dead. Otherwise, he would have been cursed to death. And, then we won't talk about this matter for the time being. Let's just talk about the vital crystals and announce that you have become the Spirit King. The spirit race old ancestor smiled. He was very satisfied with Yi Tianyun. He hadn't expected that an outsider would let them know so many things, and even successfully obtain the tyrant's stone steel. If it weren't for Yi Tianyun's early discovery, they would have suffered heavy losses by the time they discovered the problem. After discussing the countermeasures, they knew what to say to the outside world. When they were about to leave, Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "Wait a minute. I need to get something." After saying that, he plucked the soul-accumulating grass in front of everyone. Among all the spirit herbs, the soul-accumulating grass was the only one he loved. Only this thing could provide him with an explosive amount of experience points. The others were useful to him, but they weren't as effective as the soul-accumulating grass. This. Yi Qingxian couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. He was so interested in the soul-accumulating grass that he didn't care about anything else. The elders didn't say anything, but they felt that it was strange. Although the soul-accumulating grass was good, it was limited to them. This was especially true for the later stages of the divine vein. The effect of the soul-accumulating grass was very limited. Usually, it was given to talented disciples. I only like the soul-accumulating grass. If anyone has more soul-accumulating grass, I welcome you to give it to me. Yi Tianyun smiled. One soul accumulating grass was equivalent to 100 million experience points. How could he not be tempted? After that, they went outside. Many of the clansmen were discussing something. They were all talking about Yi Tianyun. After they came out, the spirit race's old ancestor announced, "I believe that everyone is confused. However, I want to say that the Overlord's stone tablet that Brother Yi took out is the absolute proof of his recognition. It's more valuable than the divine vein stone. This is a treasure left behind by our ancestors. Only he can control it perfectly. Therefore, he is destined to become the king of our spirit race." After the announcement, everyone was stunned. Although they didn't know what it was, they heard one thing: Yi Tianyun was qualified to become their king. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King. At this time, someone shouted loudly. Soon, the other clansmen also started shouting the title of Spirit King. There wasn't a lot of ceremony. As long as they took out the Overlord's stone tablet, they would become their Spirit King. Everything was so simple. The shout of Spirit King was very penetrating. It made Yi Tianyun excited. It seemed that his trip this time was really good. Just like that, a big force was under his control. "Wait, I have something to say to everyone." Yi Tianyun signaled them to stop. Soon, everyone stopped and looked at him. They didn't know what to say. "Since I have become your Spirit King, I have something to say to everyone. It's about my true appearance." Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "I have been in conflict with the Netherworld Empire. Therefore, I had to change my name and face. Now that I have become your Spirit King, it's necessary for me to show everyone my true appearance." Immediately, he took off the mask on his face and revealed a handsome face. He looked very young. In an instant, everyone saw him. Except for Yi Qingxian, everyone was stunned. A 17 or 18-year-old Spirit King was actually so young. "This is my true appearance. My real name is Yi Tianyun. I am an elder of the Heavenly Jade sect in the Earth Boundary continent. I am the Lord of the Heaven's top mansion. What happened in the Gathering Dragon City was caused by me." Yi Tianyun looked at them and said in a deep voice, "Are you still willing to let me become the Spirit King?" As their Spirit King, he had to show his true face to them. Only then would he be honest with them. After a moment of silence, everyone burst out in surprise. "What a young Spirit King! No matter who you are our Spirit King." "Yes. The Spirit King who saved our spirit race. The most powerful Spirit King. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King." Chapter 348. Yi Tianyun's heart was filled with excitement. He was infected by the enthusiasm of these people. He has to say that they are really enthusiastic. They completely believe that he can lead the spirit race to glory. Yi Tianyun nodded and looked at them seriously. "Well, I will become the spirit race's king. I will lead you to the most glorious moment. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King." They all shouted one after another. 800 or 900 people shouted in unison. This voice can be said to be resounding through the sky. In this spirit race, in addition to the spirit race old ancestor, the highest prestige is Yi Tianyun. Saintess Yi Qingxian is not as high as him, mainly this time Yi Tianyun contributed too much, even more than Saintess Yi Qingxian, and now that he has become Spirit King, he is even higher than Saintess Yi Qingxian. Then I announce here, little brother Yi is officially the spirit race's king. Spirit race old ancestor also shouted excitedly, once again raising his voice. Successfully completed the ultimate quest, become the spirit race. Reward, 100 million EXP, 300. 000 crazy point, 100. 000 SPS, 100. 000 divine rune proficiency, and get the title Spirit Race's King. Spirit Race's King, rare title, increase commander value by 500 points, increase success rate of Grand Master Divine Rune by 20%. The success rate of Grand Master Divine Rune is increased by 20%. This effect was extremely shocking. As long as the divine inscription was at the ancestor level, regardless of the type of divine inscription, the success rate would be increased by 20%. This effect was extremely tyrannical. This title is not bad, it's a pity that there is no more chain quest. Yi Tianyun shook his head. This is a bit of a pity. Every time the reward is tens of millions of EXP, this time it is 100 million EXP, the sin value is even more amazing. If there are a few more, it will be difficult not to level up. It's just that the quest is over, the explosive EXP is a lot less. Quests often gave the most EXP. If it was killing monsters, the EXP could only be considered decent. It was definitely not as much as completing quests. After it was announced that Yi Tianyun had become king, everyone rejoiced and prepared to hold a ceremony to celebrate Yi Tianyun becoming the king of the spirit race. All sorts of fine wine and spirit fruits were picked to enjoy and celebrate together. Although the Netherworld Empire would soon send people to attack, it was still very important to celebrate Yi Tianyun's ascension to the throne. Sometimes, one could not be too serious. It was more important to strike a balance between work and rest. Even if a crisis came, one had to be filled with hope for the future. It also had the effect of boosting morale. Tianyun, no, Spirit King, never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that you would become our king. Yi Qingxian sat to the side, watching the spirit race members dancing and celebrating in front of her. Her face was full of smiles. I didn't expect it either. Many things are unexpected, aren't they? At first, Yi Tianyun's idea was to come and help them. Moreover, since they had the same goal to deal with the Netherworld Empire, it was inevitable that they would join forces to fight. It was just that he didn't expect that an outsider would become the king of the spirit race. Some things may have already been decided from the very beginning. Perhaps the heavens had already decided that you would become the king of the spirit race when you saved me. Yi Qingxian turned her head and smiled at him. She was so beautiful that it was intoxicating to look at her. Thank you, my king. This was a sincere smile from the bottom of her heart. If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun, the spirit race would have been destroyed a long time ago. The night was spent in this celebration. No one came to disturb the spirit race this night. Everything was calm and peaceful. Many people finally had a good rest. They knew that there would be a battle soon. At least they had a good rest today, so they could completely relax and prepare for a new day of battle. Without waiting for them to rest for too long, the scouts in the front hurriedly came back with a message, which made all the spirit race's soldiers alert. The Netherworld Empire was attacking. It wasn't out of anyone's expectations. It was completely within expectations. A battle was inevitable. Killing General Long was undoubtedly a slap to the Netherworld Empire's face. If the Netherworld Emperor let them go, the Netherworld Empire's prestige would be completely destroyed. After all, this meant that the Netherworld Empire was scared and had no strong experts. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them not to send people. Spirit King, Elder, the Netherworld Empire is attacking. The scout hurriedly came back and reported. The Netherworld Empire really can't let people feel at ease. What kind of army is coming this time? Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. This time, the Netherworld Empire sent General Feng. The scout's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. General Feng? Yi Tianyun was unfamiliar with this name. He killed General Long and now General Feng came out of nowhere. Spirit King, you may not know this, but General Feng is much stronger than General Long. I have heard that his cultivation has reached 3rd or 4th layer of Void Spirit stage. Most importantly, he has mastered the rare wind attribute power. His speed is amazing, and he can kill his opponents in a flash. The old ancestor of the spirit race frowned and said in a deep voice, the most important thing is that he is leading a group of wind divine soldiers. They come and go without a trace. Each of them is wearing boots of wind and has been engraved with speed divine runes to greatly increase their speed. Void Spirit Stage 3rd or 4th layer. That's a tough nut to crack. Tianyun said as he narrowed his eyes. Old ancestor, do you think you can trap them? Tianyun said as he looked at the spirit race old ancestor. No problem. As long as they come in here, they will definitely die. A trace of killing intent flashed in the spirit race old ancestor's eyes. Even if he was old, his heart was not old. Old ancestor's words are enough. Let's clean them up this time and let the Netherworld Empire know our strength. Tianyun said in a cold voice. Let the Netherworld Empire know our strength. The spirit race old ancestor roared in unison. Even when facing General Feng, they were infected by Tianyun's imposing manner. But this time, you don't need to do anything. Leave everything here to us. Tianyun said in a deep voice. You stay here and wait for my orders. If you are needed, I will call you. We will listen to the Spirit King's instructions. Chapter 349. Tianyun knew that their morale was high and that they were ready to sacrifice themselves for the spirit race at any time. However, Tianyun didn't need to do so. Some sacrifices were unnecessary. So what if it was General Feng? If they couldn't defeat him, they could stall him. He didn't believe that they couldn't stall General Feng. As for whether the Netherworld Great Emperor would personally come, it was impossible for him to do so. Letting a Great Emperor come personally to deal with a third-rank faction was equivalent to lowering his status. It was as shameful as the destruction of the Netherworld prison. A faction that wasn't that big to begin with had to mobilize their entire army. Did they still need face? Judging from the Netherworld Emperor's situation, it was impossible for him to do so. Even the Imperial Advisor wouldn't come personally. Sending a general would be enough for this kind of killing. If even a general couldn't handle it, then they would have to send a powerful existence. The bigger the faction, the more face they cared about. They didn't mind the words small faction. If anyone dared to say anything, they would just destroy them. What they cared about was the opinion of the other empires. If a small faction sent so many experts, it would be a great loss of face. Unless the Imperial Advisor died at the hands of the spirit race, then the Netherworld Emperor would come personally. It was like a city lord. If a soldier or a patrol envoy was killed, the other patrol envoys or some generals would go to capture the criminal instead of the city lord himself. If the deputy city lord was killed, then the city lord would definitely come personally. If even the deputy city lord was killed, then the city lord would have to come personally. Of course, General Feng was also very powerful. He was only second to the Imperial Advisor, which meant that he was the third strongest existence. This was already a sign of respect for the spirit race. After Tianyun made the announcement, he immediately ordered a few elders to go together. Sending strong experts was the best way to solve the problem. Those that were too weak wouldn't have any effect. The spirit race already had a small number of people. If they continued to die, then even if they won, the result would still be tragic. Now that they knew the solution, they immediately ordered the people of the spirit race to retreat once they sensed that something was wrong. All of you go to the entrance of the forest to see what's going on. I will go there shortly. Tianyun instructed. Yes, Spirit King. They nodded at each other without asking anything and immediately rushed into the forest. Yi Qingxian also set off. This group of people was the strongest in terms of combat power. The more people there were, the better it would be. Tianyun was very powerful, but his speed was undoubtedly much slower. After they left, what Tianyun wanted to do was very simple, and that was to refine pills. Now that he had obtained a soul-accumulating grass, he would not miss this opportunity to level up. After completing the quest twice, he had earned 160 million EXP. He only needed a little more to level up. After leveling up, he would have more confidence in dealing with this General Feng. In this place, cultivation was always the prerequisite for victory. If one's cultivation was far from enough, then any schemes and plots would be futile. Let's level up first. Yi Tianyun immediately started to refine pills like crazy and doubled the speed of refining the soul accumulating pill. He did not dare to refine the soul accumulating pill 5 times, because it was too difficult. If he failed, he would not be able to level up. While he was refining pills, General Feng had already led a group of Wind Divine soldiers towards him. There were hundreds of them, and their cultivation had all reached the spirit core stage. This was the power of the Empire. Their cultivation was at the spirit core stage, which was really a big deal. Although their cultivation was only at the spirit core stage, they ran at an amazing speed as if they were flying. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed a large distance. The middle-aged man who was leading them had a stern face, and there was no trace of emotion in his eyes, only indifference. He held a long sword in his hand and flew towards the spirit race forest. His speed was neither fast nor slow. He was waiting for his subordinates to catch up. If he flew too fast, he would have already left them behind. As they sprinted, a forest soon appeared in their line of sight. As their speed became faster and faster, they arrived in front of the forest in less than a moment. One by one, the wind armaments pulled out a long sword. Every single one of them wielded a sword that was at least a mid-grade soul armament. Their equipment was of the highest quality. Compared to the Wind Divine soldiers, the Dragon soldiers were not at the same level. Although the Dragon soldiers had the help of the Earth Dragon, their speed was too slow. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon soldiers were killed. It was difficult to kill the Earth Dragon, but it was definitely not a problem to kill it slowly. In the world of martial arts, speed was the only thing that could not be defeated. They only pursued one word: speed. When they arrived in front of the forest, they did not rush in. Instead, they formed a team of sharp knives. Each of them stood there, and no one knew what they wanted to do. Elder Yen and the others, who were in the depths of the forest, were observing them. They had no idea what they wanted to do. What do they want to do? Why are they not moving? Who cares what they want to do? As long as they come in, we will kill them. Yes, as long as they enter the Mystic Trace Forest, they will not be able to enter under the full power of the Ancestor. They were confident that as long as they were under the protection of the Mystic Trace Formation, there would be no problem. Just when they thought that everything was the same as General Long, the Wind Divine soldiers began to hack at the giant trees in an orderly manner. Every sword was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had already slashed over 100 times. In an instant, a giant tree was cut in half, and in a short while, a giant tree was cut in half. Peng, 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 one by one, the giant trees fell down. In the blink of an eye, dozens of giant trees had fallen. Following that, they continued to hack at the next batch of giant trees. Batch after batch of giant trees were chopped down. This scene caused their faces to darken. They did not expect that the Wind Divine soldiers wanted to forcefully open a path and cut down all the giant trees. According to the situation, it would take a long time, but it would definitely be effective. The effect of the Mystic Trace Forest was completely built on the giant trees. The divine runes were carved on them. If the giant trees were to disappear, it would be equivalent to breaking the formation. And looking at the speed at which they were cutting down the trees, even if it took a long time, it would not be very long. As long as the direction was right, there would be no problem. The direction is a little off, go this way. General Feng shouted coldly, indicating for them to cut in this direction. He held a stone plate in his hand, and there was a needle on it. It was unknown what it was used for. That's a finger compass, a compass that can point out the correct direction. There is probably a token of our spirit tribe on it, allowing them to successfully know the direction. Since we are outside, the direction will be absolutely correct. Elder Yan's expression was ugly. If they entered the Mystic Trace Forest, the finger compass would lose its effect. Under the control of the spirit tribe ancestor, they would easily lose their way. Against a divine rune grandmaster, the finger compass was really useless. Chapter 350. Under the command of General Feng, the divine wind soldiers corrected their direction time and time again. Although they managed to cut down quite a number of giant trees, the disorientating formation still affected them, so they had to constantly correct their direction. I didn't expect them to use such a violent method to break through the formation. Yi Qingxian and the rest didn't look too good. They didn't expect it to be so disgusting. It was obvious that they came prepared. General Long and the rest were trapped inside, so they obviously didn't want to follow in their footsteps. Hence, they used the least efficient method, but the effect was the most direct. That's right. If this continues, we'll definitely be found. Especially since the divine wind soldiers are too fast, they can move a large distance in an instant. Based on the current situation, the spirit tribe will be found in 3 days at most. Elder Yen roughly estimated the time. If they were to run, they would arrive at the spirit tribe in a short while. If they used this stupid method, they would need 3 days to find the spirit tribe's village. This method was stupid, but it wouldn't affect them, and they wouldn't be able to launch a sneak attack. Once they launched a sneak attack, General Feng would immediately attack them. Whether they could escape at that time was another matter. Then what should we do now? Yi Qingshuan's silver eyes were filled with worry. With so many powerful divine wind weapons, once they charged in, it would be a life-threatening existence. Just General Feng alone was enough to kill them. Even though Yi Tianyun was quite strong, he was still a little worried. Wait for the Spirit King's instructions. Elder Yen said in a low voice, the Spirit King asked us to stand guard here. Before he arrives, we can only stay here and wait for his arrival. The other elders nodded. As long as they believed that Yi Tianyun was the Spirit King, they would listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions. If they didn't listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions, then what was the point of having the Spirit King? Unless Yi Tianyun allowed them to move freely, and Yi Tianyun asked them to watch the situation at the door and wait for his arrival. Let's hope the Spirit King has a way to resolve this. Yi Qingxian was a little worried. She was worried that Yi Tianyun would kill his way out. Facing such a powerful General Feng, the pressure would be unimaginable. After they continued to go a long distance, a familiar figure finally appeared behind them, and a familiar voice rang out, "What's going on? Are they trying to get rid of this giant tree, and then kill their way over?" Spirit King. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they felt that something was wrong. They felt that Yi Tianyun had become stronger. Their intuition was right. Yi Tianyun had indeed broken through to the 7th level of core transformation stage after taking the 4 refined soul pill. Yi Tianyun's cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of core transformation stage. However, from now on, he would have to slow down. Without any large-scale quests, it would be difficult for him to level up quickly. For the time being, he could only kill monsters to level up. As for when there would be a quest, it would depend on the situation. Yes, they are using the stupidest method to attack now. They are moving forward bit by bit. If this continues, they will reach the area where we are in less than 3 days. Elder Yen said in a deep voice. 3 days. Yi Tianyun nodded his head, and then he looked up and said, I will go and check the situation first. After that, Yi Tianyun quietly floated over, took out the ice divine bow, and quickly pulled the bow to the fullest, aiming at the wind divine weapon outside. Ice Fury. He unleashed his strongest move. Coupled with the 8 times damage mode, his strength soared all of a sudden. The next moment, a thick frost arrow shot out. The damage soared to 46 million in an instant. After the breakthrough, the damage bonus was even more amazing. All of a sudden, the ice arrow exploded in front of him, turning everything in its path into a world of ice and snow. In the blink of an eye, the Ice Fury had rushed out of the forest and rushed toward the group of wind divine weapons on the side. The moment it flew out of the forest, General Feng's eyes narrowed, and he disappeared in an instant. Soon, he appeared in front of the wind divine weapon and swung the long sword in his hand. Roar of the wind. It could be said that he stabbed out hundreds of times in an instant. A violent hurricane swept towards the frost's fury, turning into a thick wind dragon that roared and bit the frost's fury. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, followed by a hurricane that swept into the forest, rolling the wrath of ice inside, turning it into a blizzard, attacking in the direction of Yi Tianyun. Wherever it went, many giant trees were uprooted and swept up, and the ground was frozen. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and he quickly dodged to the side, easily dodging the attack of the blizzard. Although he dodged the attack of the blizzard, his heart sank, very strong. This General Feng is much stronger than General Long, they are not on the same level at all. The data displayed by appraisal eyes clearly explains the real situation. General Feng, Void Spirit Stage 4th Level Cultivation, holding Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, Low-Grade Heaven-Grade Weapon, wearing Hurricane Armor, Low-Grade Heaven-Grade Equipment, wearing Hurricane Boots, Low-Grade Heaven-Grade Equipment, engraved with Acceleration Divine Runes, increasing speed by 50%, amazing speed. Current battle power as high as 48 million, in the state of erupting most of his power. Weakness, fire can restrain wind. He possessed the Divine Wind Technique, Wind Rush, and Wind Flash. Killed, can drop Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, the power that erupted in an instant just now is as high as 48 million, directly crushing the power of his crazy mode. This is not unexpected. For existences who have reached the Void Spirit stage, every time they advance a level, the increase in damage is extremely astonishing. Especially that speed, it was just too fast, so fast that Yi Tianyun only saw an afterimage. Originally, the speed of the wind attribute was already very fast, but with the help of the Heaven Grade set, engraved with many acceleration divine runes, even Yi Tianyun was shocked. Didn't hit? General Feng stopped his attack and stared at Yi Tianyun coldly. Your strength is not bad, but still a little lacking. If you have the ability, fight me face to face. As long as you defeat me, you can protect the safety of your spirit race, otherwise, we will directly kill our way to your base. General Feng's words are tantamount to issuing a challenge, wanting to fight to the death with Yi Tianyun. With such a powerful force, it is necessary to get rid of him first. More importantly, General Feng likes to fight alone, not in the dark, preferring to fight head-on. Chapter 351. Yi Tianyun wasn't stupid enough to fight General Feng one-on-one. If he acted rashly without knowing the situation, he would easily lose. In the next moment, 3 more ice arrows appeared on the ice divine bow in Yi Tianyun's hand. He aimed at them and shot 3 arrows. Shio, shio, shio. The 3 arrows pierced in different directions. The power was definitely not as strong as the fury of frost, but it was enough to separate them and see if General Feng could withstand the attack. The moment the ice arrows flew out, General Feng's perception seemed to have enveloped the entire area. A sharp light flashed across his eyes. In the next moment, his body turned into a gust of wind and swept forward. He swung his sword fiercely at the ice arrow that was shot out. A gust of wind swept over. Its speed was faster than Yi Tianyun's attack, and in the blink of an eye, it caught the ice arrow and turned it into ice shards. In the next moment, he once again aimed at another frost arrow and struck it, shattering the other frost arrow. As for the last arrow, General Feng's figure flashed and appeared in front of the ice arrow. With a peng sound, it was directly pierced through. The 3 frost arrows were easily smashed by him. It was not difficult at all. It was as easy as smashing 3 stones. Such power, Yi Qingxian and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Tianyun's attack was very domineering. They had all seen the power of the ice arrows, but they were blocked so easily. However, this was completely reasonable. General Feng was a void spirit stage expert, not a cabbage that could be found on the street. It seems like this is useless against him. He can easily block them. Yi Tianyun's face darkened. He originally thought that he could kill 1 or 2 divine weapons of wind. But now, it seemed like there was no hope. He was completely targeted. As long as he attacked, he would be discovered immediately. There was no way he could do anything. When he stopped, General Feng's eyes flashed with a light as if he had turned into the eyes of an eagle. In the next moment, he stomped his foot and disappeared from the place he was standing on, and he rushed forward to kill Yi Tianyun. Everything had happened too suddenly. General Feng had rushed in and made his way to where he was. Almost instantaneously, he had already arrived in front of Yi Tianyun. Their gazes met, and General Feng thrust his sword at him without hesitation. His speed was so fast that it was hard to tell how many times he had thrust his sword. Every thrust was accompanied by a sharp sword wind that instantly enveloped Yi Tianyun. His attack was decisive and he did not hold back in the slightest. He pushed his strength to the maximum. Xian Tian Divine Art. Golden Body Formula. He displayed his double defense and did not hesitate to use the Ice Divine Bow in his hand to meet the attack. He did not use teleportation to escape. He wanted to see if he could withstand this power. Dang dang dang. As soon as Yi Tianyun swung his sword, he felt several attacks stabbing towards him. They easily pierced through his mystic heaven divine technique and stabbed into his evil dragon set. There wasn't much of a problem at first, but after a few consecutive strikes, the violent impact caused him to retreat slightly. Before this, the Ice Frost Divine Bow in his hand had already slashed down heavily. Dang! General Feng reacted quickly. He quickly raised the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword in his hand and slashed at Yi Tianyun. Crack! A crack appeared on the sturdy Ice Frost Divine Bow. At the same time, he was sent flying, and a violent hurricane swept towards him. Spirit King! All the elders' hearts skipped a beat. If he was swept up by this violent hurricane, then Yi Tianyun would be finished. At this moment, the red dragon spear appeared in Yi Tianyun's hand. A blood dragon instantly erupted, and the dragon god's bloodline was completely released. His strength increased by a lot. He thrust his spear at the incoming hurricane, and a bloody light flashed in his eyes. Tyrant Soul. In an instant, the power of 2 blood dragons whizzed out and crashed into the hurricane. Following that, their huge physiques violently shattered the hurricane, turning it into nothingness. 20 times the strength was displayed here. Under the violent tremor, even a hurricane that could tear apart everything was shattered by him. This is General Long's ultimate skill. General Feng was stunned. He didn't expect to see General Long's ultimate skill in the hands of an outsider. However, General Feng quickly regained his senses and brandished his sword again. This time, he stabbed at Yi Tianyun. The tip of the sword clashed with the tip of the spear, and when the two collided, a dang sound could be heard. Following that, General Feng felt a violent force transmitted from the other party's spear. It pushed him back repeatedly, and he couldn't withstand it at all. He kept moving backward to neutralize this force. Shadow Clone. Almost instantaneously, 3 Yi Tianyun separated from the side, holding the same red dragon spear in their hands, and thrust it at General Feng. Shock flashed across General Feng's eyes. He had never heard of this move before. He didn't even know which was the real body and which was the shadow. Regardless of which was the real body and which was the fake body, General Feng kept his sword to his waist and started spinning. Resplendent Wind. In the next moment, General Feng's body turned into a hurricane and charged towards the sky. He wanted to sweep away the 4 Yi Tianyun that were surrounding him. Yi Tianyun didn't stop attacking. He stabbed forward and pierced through the air. Boom! General Feng was sent flying by the shockwave, and the 3 Yi Tianyuns were devoured by the shockwave, and then they were minced into nothingness. The real Yi Tianyun quickly retreated and silently disappeared into the fog. In this short period of time, they had exchanged countless blows. In the end, neither of them gained the upper hand. What a fast speed! Even if I can suppress him with my strength, I'm not as fast as him. I was easily dodged or knocked away. Yi Tianyun frowned. His strength was domineering enough. Even if General Feng couldn't repel his attacks, he could dodge them himself. The three shadow clones only had a fraction of his strength. Their defenses were even weaker and they were easily crushed. Unexpectedly, the two seemed to be evenly matched in a head-on clash. Neither could do anything to the other. In terms of who had the upper hand, it was undoubtedly General Feng. He came and went as he pleased. At this moment, he had already retreated to the outermost area and left the mystic maze forest. He held the heavenly wind divine sword and looked into the forest to see if there were any other movements. Chapter 352. Yi Tianyun knew that General Feng didn't use his full strength, which meant that General Feng didn't use his full strength. He was just probing General Feng's strength. If he really wanted to use his full strength, he would burn his blood essence and use all kinds of treasures to enhance his strength to a certain extent. This was something that every cultivator knew, and General Feng was no exception. It was just that he could deal with it with ease, so there was no need for him to do so. Your strength is not bad. Which force are you from? Could it be someone from the Heavenly Dragon Empire? Or is it an expert sent by another empire to aid the Spirit Tribe Forest? General Feng held the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword and looked coldly into the forest. General Feng had caught Yi Tianyun's attack position earlier, so he immediately rushed forward and attacked fiercely. Now that Yi Tianyun had disappeared, he naturally wouldn't rush into attack. Yi Tianyun didn't answer him. He just looked at the divine weapons of wind that were still cutting down trees. As long as they didn't kill the divine weapons of wind, they would continue to cut down trees. But the moment they rushed out of the forest, they would be immediately targeted by General Feng. In addition to General Feng, even among the divine weapons of wind, there were also core transformation stage powerhouses, so it was not easy to deal with them. It seems that you don't want to come out and fight me, you coward. General Feng sneered, but don't worry, I will move forward step by step, and then I will completely destroy the spirit race. This time, the order I received was to completely flatten the spirit tribe. Only a few of them are left alive, and the rest are to be killed. You trampled on the dignity of our Heavenly Dragon Empire. No matter who you are, as long as you go against our Netherworld Empire, you will die. General Feng coldly looked at the forest. He was overbearing, carrying out the tyranny of the Netherworld Empire. He would absolutely suppress all the forces that went against him, and he would show no mercy. Don't worry, only your Netherworld Empire will be destroyed, not us, idiot. Yi Tianyun's voice came from the forest. It was so faint that it was impossible to pinpoint the direction of the voice. Is that so? Let's wait and see. Continue to stay in the forest and hide like a coward. Let's see if you can still say such words after we attack. General Feng sneered. In the face of General Feng's threat, Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised. His eyes flickered with a black light. Looks like I can only risk it all. I'll get rid of all these divine wind soldiers, and the remaining General Feng will slowly toy with him to death. Yi Tianyun sneered. Soon after, an evil light burst out from his body. His figure flashed and turned into an evil dragon that was 100 meters long, whistling into the sky. The sudden appearance of the evil dragon stunned many people. The divine weapons of wind all stopped their swords and looked at the evil dragon in a daze. It wasn't the first time Yi Qingxian had seen it, but she was still shocked when she saw it for the second time. She hadn't asked what was going on before, mainly because she was too embarrassed to ask. She only needed to know one thing, and that was that Yi Tianyun was their king. Is that a spiritual king transformation? They were dumbfounded. This power was too shocking. The domineering evil dragon was beyond their understanding. Yes, it's a spiritual king transformation. Yi Qingxian nodded. They all clearly saw that the area where Yi Tianyun was at had turned into an evil dragon, so they couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. There was no way to hide it. Unless Yi Tianyun didn't plan to transform, no one would know. However, facing so many strong enemies, he had no choice but to transform. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to deal with these divine weapons of wind in front of General Feng. Roar! The evil dragon roared. Following that, Yi Tianyun quickly pounced towards the divine weapons of wind. A huge dragon claw slammed down, and the violent power was like a huge mountain crashing down. Everything in its path would definitely be smashed into ruins. How did this come out? General Feng was shocked, but he didn't stop at all. With a light tap of his foot, he turned into a hurricane and stabbed the divine sword of heavenly wind. In an instant, the tip of the sword shone with a dazzling light. It was as if the wind had reached its peak, and rays of light burst forth. Resplendent wind. Swish, swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, he had reached Yi Tianyun's side. He aimed at the thick dragon and slashed down. It could be said that he used all his strength in an attempt to cut the dragon's body in half. However, after he slashed down, a clang was heard. The violent rebounding force pushed General Feng back slightly. Under this violent slash, only a shallow wound was left on Yi Tianyun's skin, but the super strong power still suppressed Yi Tianyun. The damage wasn't great, but it didn't mean that he wouldn't be sent flying. It was like a huge rock. Even if you couldn't smash it, you could still push it. Yi Tianyun only felt a strong force coming at him, but he didn't care. He used this force to suppress the divine weapons of wind. The divine weapons of wind turned pale and quickly fled to the side, but their speed was no match for Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun twisted his huge body and swung his dragon claw at the divine weapons of wind. Boom! A large area was smashed, and several divine weapons of wind were flattened by Yi Tianyun's palm. Successfully killed divine weapon of wind. Reward: 250,000 EXP, 3,100 crazy point, 200 SPs, obtained martial art strong wind secret art, strong wind slash. Reward: strong wind sword, strong wind boots, strong wind armor. Ding! Successfully killed wind divine weapon. Reward: 380. 000 EXP, 4,300 crazy point, 250 SPs. Ding! Successfully killed. With one slap, 3 divine weapons of wind were instantly killed. Their cultivation was not weak, but Yi Tianyun's strength was more overbearing. With the evil dragon set, his strength increased by 20 times. Even General Feng couldn't compete with him, let alone these soldiers. Bastard! General Feng's indifferent expression suddenly turned into anger. His subordinates were killed, so he was naturally furious. Holding the divine wind sword in his hand, Yi Tianyun attacked Yi Tianyun again. A shadow immediately appeared behind him, forming a wind dragon wrapped around his body. General Feng's hollow spirit is a wind dragon. No wonder his speed is so amazing. It turns out that he has a wind dragon as his foundation. Chapter 353. After General Feng transformed into a wind dragon, his strength increased by several folds and his battle prowess skyrocketed. He waved the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand and the surrounding wind was controlled by him. In an instant, it turned into a huge wind blade and slashed down at Yi Tianyun. The thick wind blade was over a dozen feet long. Although it wasn't as long as Yi Tianyun's dragon body, its power was absolutely astonishing. A mere worm dares to call itself a dragon? Scram! Yi Tianyun twisted his huge body and swung it at General Feng. The domineering dragon tail was like a huge black whip as it lashed out fiercely. The space shook as if it was going to shatter the void. Boom! The two collided and were both sent flying. However, it was obvious that General Feng's strength was a notch higher. He was only sent flying for a few dozen meters while Yi Tianyun directly smashed him into the ground and pressed him down. Rumble. Yi Tianyun's huge body pressed down on many wind divine weapons and flattened them. Once again, a few wind divine weapons were crushed to death and he immediately gained a lot of experience. Spirit King. The elders watching from the side had their hearts in their throats. They really wanted to rush out, but they were stopped and didn't dare to act rashly. Yi Tianyun warned them not to move recklessly. If General Feng made a move, they would definitely die. Sometimes, making a move would only be a burden. Naturally, Yi Tianyun was fine. He only suffered a little injury on his body. It was just a scar on his body. It had to be said that the might of the attack was very strong. However, his defense was even more domineering. With the Xian Tian divine art and golden body secret art stacked together with the dragon god's secret art, his defense had reached a heaven-defying level. He knew that his damage was definitely not as good as General Feng's. However, his defense might not be the same. He could definitely withstand General Feng's attack and would only have a slight effect on him. No matter how the opponent attacked, Yi Tianyun could withstand it easily. He could even make use of this impact to sweep towards the divine weapons of wind, slapping many of them to death. Shortly after, it suddenly soared into the sky and opened its huge mouth to form a black hole. It swallowed all the spiritual energy in the surroundings, even the broken spiritual trees were sucked in. The surging suction force caused many of the wind god's soldiers to be startled, and they quickly retreated. If they got too close, or if they couldn't stand steadily, they would definitely be sucked into the black hole. Yi Tianyun's devouring power wasn't about devouring the wind divine weapon. If it could be devoured, the effect would be even better. Under the effect of swallowing like a whale, the surrounding trees and spiritual power were all sucked in. General Feng didn't budge an inch under this suction force. It had no effect on him at all. However, he was already condensing his spiritual energy. The entire heavenly wind divine sword flickered with a pale green light and constantly vibrated. The ground around the sword kept emitting whoosh 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 sounds, and countless cuts appeared on the ground. Its defense is too strong. This evil dragon's strength is a bit too strong. It's just that its cultivation is a bit low. Otherwise, I really would have been suppressed. General Feng was extremely shocked. He didn't think that there would be a huge evil dragon in the forest. Its strength was truly frightening. Especially after using his full strength, he was only able to leave a mark on the ground. He immediately felt a sense of defeat. He hadn't felt this way in a long time. In the past, it was invincible. Now, he couldn't even cut through it and was even sent flying. I'd like to see how long you can suck for. General Feng fiercely swung his sword and leaped into the air. He turned into a wind dragon and whizzed forward. The surrounding wind attribute formed a layer of energy around him. In an instant, it was as if he had really turned into a wind dragon and faced the evil dragon. Facing General Feng, Yi Tianyun was almost done accumulating power. He suddenly aimed at General Feng and spat out a mouthful of energy. Earth erosion. A terrifying pillar of black light shot out from his mouth and directly landed on General Feng. The wind dragon's shadow around him instantly shrank by half. It even continued to weaken under this terrifying corrosive force. The remaining black pillars of light pressed down heavily on other places. Wherever they went, they were corroded until they were charred black, as if they had been burned by fire. However, if one looked closely, the black energy would even seep in and continue to corrode deeper places. After the flames burned, they would completely disappear. They only burned on the surface, but this black energy would seep in deeper and more thoroughly. Some of the divine weapons of wind that couldn't escape in time were hit by the black pillar of light. Black flames immediately ignited on their bodies and burned into their bodies, causing them to scream in pain. They couldn't shake it off no matter how hard they tried. They could only scream and fall to the ground. In the end, they were completely burned to death by the flames. The black pillar of light was essentially fire, and fire just happened to restrain General Feng. Successfully restrained the wind attribute. Damage increased by 0.5 times. Overall combat power, 49 million. Roar. The thick black flame abruptly intensified, instantly crushing the phantom released by General Feng. Only a small layer of power was left on the outside. General Feng was still extremely stubborn. He continued charging over and stabbed his sword at the evil dragon's head. Resplendent wind. Buzz. The heavenly wind divine sword trembled. A pale green pillar of light shot out and split the incoming flames in half. Finally, the sword slashed down. How could Yi Tianyun just sit and wait for death? A red spear suddenly shot out from his mouth. It turned into a red light that pierced through and collided with the heavenly wind divine sword. Clang! General Feng was sent flying. The red dragon spear ruthlessly pierced through the ground. It directly sank into the end of the spear and basically disappeared from the ground. This can even use a weapon. After General Feng was sent flying, he was extremely shocked. How could he spit out a weapon? The evil dragon was transformed by Yi Tianyun. Of course, he could use a weapon. He directly shot it out from his mouth and its might was equally shocking. In order to successfully resist General Feng, it didn't matter if he couldn't retrieve this weapon. As long as he could suppress the divine weapons of wind here, it would be half the battle. He was very satisfied with the result. After sending General Feng flying, he opened his mouth and continued to spit out black flames. The black flames instantly engulfed the land and even swept up many divine weapons of wind. Twisting his thick body, he charged down. Apart from spewing fire, he also used his dragon body to press down, directly flattening them. Chapter 354. No matter how ferocious their attacks were, when they hit Yi Tianyun's body, it was like an itch and nothing happened. This was the benefit of having an absolute defense. His strength might not be as great as General Feng's, but if his defense was strong enough, he could still dominate the world. When the opponent couldn't hurt him, Yi Tianyun was already in an invincible position and was the victor. Fighting with General Feng, his strength might not be able to reach the level of killing him instantly, but couldn't he just slowly exhaust him to death? However, Yi Tianyun wasn't interested in General Feng at all. He just whizzed towards the divine wind troops in front of him, causing them to wail like ghosts and howl like wolves. They couldn't hurt them, nor could they run away. They were fast, but could they be faster than Yi Tianyun? Is the Spirit King's true form a dragon? His strength is too domineering, General Feng's strength can't hurt him at all. Yeah, if I was hit by this strength, I would definitely die. It was the same against General Long before, and he was killed by the Spirit King. However, General Feng's strength is stronger, and the Spirit King can't deal with him easily, but he can't hurt him either. Yi Qingxian was engrossed in watching from the side. Her silver eyes flickered with excitement. How could she not be excited when Yi Tianyun was able to gallop on the battlefield? Then let's take advantage of the fact that General Feng is busy with the Spirit King to get rid of those escaping divine wind troops. Elder Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. We can't just stay here and watch. The Spirit King wants us to stay here, but the situation is different now. If we continue like this, those divine wind troops will escape. They didn't want to stay here forever. That would make them look too useless, and they could only rely on Yi Tianyun. Alright, let's go and kill those that are alone. Don't get caught up in the fight, and come back immediately if anything goes wrong. Yi Qingxian immediately agreed to this decision. Many divine wind troops were about to escape from the forest, and even with General Feng's shocking speed, he wouldn't be able to rush over immediately. Therefore, they acted with ease. If it was in the previous situation, they definitely wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Go! All of them nodded and rushed out. All of a sudden, a sword light, a saber light, or even a silver whip flickered, followed by the wind divine weapon and was sent flying. Under this ferocious attack, even if he didn't die, he would be heavily injured. Halfway through, a few experts appeared and stopped the escaping divine wind soldiers, causing them to stop in their tracks and not dare to continue running. Bastard, you're too despicable. You actually launched a sneak attack from behind. General Feng roared. He knew that the situation wasn't right. The divine wind soldiers had to retreat immediately. Otherwise, they would definitely be killed by Yi Tianyun. What a terrifying defensive power. He had already erupted with his full strength. All that was left was to ignite his essence blood. However, he felt that even if he ignited his essence blood, it would still be extremely difficult to deal with it. This skin was just too thick. No matter how he slashed at it, he couldn't cut through it. What was the use? He let out a low roar, and his body flickered with a faint green light as he quickly charged forward. He couldn't hurt Yi Tianyun, but he could easily kill Yi Qingxian and the others to vent his anger. Your Netherworld Empire, you still have the cheek to say that we're despicable? Yi Tianyun twisted his body, and suddenly flew over, intercepting in front of him, and slammed the sharp claws in his hand towards him. Damn it, get out of my way. A green light shot out from General Feng's eyes. The dragon scales on his body became thicker and thicker. His blood and chi were completely ignited. Suddenly, his combat power skyrocketed and reached the level of 53 million. Yi Tianyun completely ignored General Feng's eruption and raised his dragon claws. Boom! Both of them were pushed back. General Feng's situation was still okay. He was only pushed back a few dozen meters. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun was pushed back even further. His huge dragon body was pushed back. It looked even more shocking from afar. It looked like a huge mountain was pushed back. However, this domineering sword only left a mark on the dragon claws. It did not cut the dragon claws in half. It was still too difficult to break through his defense. Yi Tianyun was confident that he could withstand General Feng's attack. Unless General Feng's cultivation was a level higher, he would be able to withstand it. The evil dragon set was not a waste of 100,000 sin points. Its powerful defense and domineering power were the most direct and violent effects. After he was sent flying, he twisted his dragon body and threw himself to the side, slamming into a giant tree and stopping. Then, he twisted his body and went to kill the divine weapon of wind. He couldn't be bothered with General Feng anymore. Bastard! General Feng roared in anger. This made him really angry. No matter how much power he used, he couldn't kill this evil dragon easily. His attack was blocked. He can only watch as his men are constantly beheaded, and as soon as he rushes forward, he will be stopped by Yi Tianyun, unable to rescue them. Some of the divine weapons of wind could only be forced into the forest. Little did they know that the moment they stepped into the forest, they were also walking into a real dead end. Very good, very good. For the dignity of the empire, I want you dead. General Feng gritted his teeth and roared at Yi Tianyun. Go! Yi Tianyun twisted his body and dove into the forest. Then, he quickly disappeared. When Yi Qingxian and the others saw this, they all rushed into the forest. The remaining 3 divine weapons of wind couldn't be bothered to chase after them. They directly hid in the forest and disappeared into the fog. At this moment, General Feng was stunned. In the blink of an eye, they ran away. He was just about to unleash his power, but the other party had already run away. What was the point of chasing? The remaining 3 divine weapons of wind looked at each other. They thought that they were dead for sure. They didn't expect the other party to run away. Coward, you bunch of cowards. If you have the ability, come out and fight me. General Feng shouted hysterically. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. There were only 2 or 3 divine weapons of wind left. How was he going to break the formation and kill his way into the spirit tribe's village? The efficiency was too low. How long would he have to fight for? Idiot, didn't I just fight with you? You can't even move me, and you call me a coward? Besides, if you have the ability, come in. Stop whining outside. Yi Tianyun had already returned to his human form. His face was pale. Chapter 355. Yi Tianyun's shouts infuriated General Feng. He knew that once he entered the forest, he would definitely fall into a maze. At that time, he would be at a disadvantage, and he might even end up like General Long, never to come out again. However, according to the current situation, the remaining 2 or 3 wind divine weapons could not continue with the previous plan. Looking at the remaining 2 or 3 divine wind soldiers, General Feng was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Just like that, everyone was killed right under his nose. The Netherworld Great Emperor had sent him here because he believed that he would be able to destroy the spirit race. Moreover, he had sent him here under the watchful eyes of everyone. This meant that his success or failure was closely related to the Netherworld Empire's face. If he couldn't break through the spirit race's defenses, it would be tantamount to losing. At that time, the Netherworld Empire's prestige would plummet. The fact that such a weak race was able to withstand his attack made both him and the Netherworld Empire lose face. The number of wind divine weapons under his command had become few and far between. He had spent a lot of effort to nurture them, but the number of wind divine weapons remaining could be counted on one hand. What a tragic ending this was. As one of his symbols, the divine wind weapon had become the lame wind weapon. If he wanted to continue cultivating so many divine weapons of wind, he would need to spend even more resources. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to vomit blood. "Ah, I want you to die." General Feng seemed to have gone mad as he roared at the sky. His eyes then narrowed as he stared fixedly at the huge tree in front of him. Then, he suddenly stomped on the ground, and with a loud bang, a gust of wind rolled up from under his feet, sending him flying. He held the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand and slashed at the giant tree in front of him. Basically, he could cut down a giant tree in 2 strikes. Most of the time, he could cut down the giant tree with 1 strike. He did not lose his mind and charge into the forest. Instead, he personally chopped down the trees. He did not believe that he could not kill his way into the spirit race's village. As long as Yi Tianyun reappeared, he would immediately suppress him. This was undoubtedly the simplest method. Not only would they be able to advance slowly, but they would also be able to wait for Yi Tianyun to charge out. This was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Damn it, he wants to kill his way in personally. At this rate, it will take him a little longer, but it won't be more than a week before he can kill his way into our village. Elder Yen looked around and made a rough estimate. General Feng was indeed weak, but he alone was enough to take down half of the divine weapons of wind. The speed at which he chopped down the trees was equally astonishing. It was clearly an extremely tough tree, but under this heavenly wind divine sword, it was as fragile as tofu. It was sliced into pieces with 1 strike. Yi Tianyun had already gathered with them. Looking at the situation, his expression was extremely grim. It was obvious that General Feng was completely enraged. Yes, he was enraged, but he did not lose his rationality. He maintained his rationality and continued to chop down trees, using the stupidest method to charge into the astral village. It seems that if I don't kill him, I won't be able to stop his advance. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a bit of cold light. He was ready to step forward and fight with General Feng again. Although he couldn't do anything to General Feng also couldn't do anything to him. So if they fight head-on, Yi Tianyun believed that he would be able to crush General Feng to death. General Feng was like a powerful elite monster. Yi Tianyun's damage wasn't enough, so he could only slowly exhaust General Feng bit by bit. Relying on his own replenishment, coupled with his good defense, he could slowly exhaust General Feng to death. If his cultivation was higher, he wouldn't be in so much pain. The difference in cultivation between the two was huge. Defense could make up for it, but damage couldn't. Or if his crazy mode was upgraded, then General Feng would definitely be crushed by him. But he still needed a lot of crazy points. It's not easy to accumulate tens of millions of crazy points. Although he had a lot of crazy points now, he still needed a lot of crazy points. Even if he sold all his loot, it would still not be enough. He still needed a few million crazy points. Spirit King, you consumed a lot of crazy points just now. If you continue like this, I'm afraid. Yi Qingshuan's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. The other elders also felt the same. Yi Tianyun's face was pale. This is the best proof. If I don't do this, he will soon come to our village. Yi Tianyun said solemnly, no matter what the result is, we must immediately prepare to evacuate from here. We already know the solution, so even if we evacuate from here, there won't be any problem. And even if I can kill General Feng, I think their Imperial Preceptor will soon come, or Netherworld Great Emperor will also come. They won't be able to swallow this anger. 2 of their generals died here, how can Netherworld Empire not be angry? The next time they come, they will definitely send a stronger force. It is a completely vicious cycle. Unless Netherworld Great Emperor is killed, there is no way to stop Netherworld Empire's anger. Although Yi Tianyun didn't know how strong the Netherworld Great Emperor was, he was sure that the Netherworld Great Emperor was much stronger than General Feng, so he had to run away. He didn't mind giving up temporarily, as long as he was still alive. Yes, I also have this idea. After we know what the curse is, we have already thought of a way to evacuate. Although there is some reluctance, but this is the only way for now. If we don't retreat, we will die. If that's the case, then hurry up and prepare to evacuate from here. I'm going to delay him here so that he won't notice anything wrong. If he catches up, we won't be able to escape. Yi Tianyun said. They nodded, they immediately know what to do. Thank you, Spirit King. We will evacuate our people first. When the time comes, we will wait for you at the edge of Tianyu Lake. We have a secret hideout there. They did not waste any more time and immediately got up and ran towards the village. Saintess, wait! Yi Tianyun hurriedly shouted. What's wrong? Yi Qingxian asked curiously. Remember to pull out the soul-accumulating grass for me, we can't let Netherworld Empire take advantage of it. Yi Tianyun reminded. Yi Qingxian rolled her eyes, she thought that he is going to say something, but it turns out that he is thinking about the soul-accumulating grass in the pond. We will definitely take it, as long as it is important, we will take it, nothing will be left. Yi Qingxian said. That's fine, I'll look for you when I get out of here. Yi Tianyun smiled and said. This is the experience grass. He remembered that there are 3 soul-accumulating grass in the pond. It is equivalent to hundreds of millions of experience points. How can he miss it? My king, we will wait for your return. Yi Qingshuan's silver eyes flashed with a bit of worry. She looked at him for the last time, turned around and ran away. Don't worry, I will easily escape. Yi Tianyun turned his eyes back to General Feng, thinking about how to kill General Feng here. Chapter 356. There were many ways to escape. For example, using instant movement would allow one to escape without any difficulty. Especially since there were so many forests here, General Feng wouldn't be able to find him. What he needed now was a way to kill General Feng. He needed to kill this General Feng above his level. For the people of the Netherworld Empire, killing one of them was a good thing, especially when they were at the Void Spirit stage. Then, they would be able to kill another group of powerhouses, which would undoubtedly be a strong motivation for them. How should I deal with him? Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. He wanted to see if there was a way to give him an advantage. Immediately, he began to rummage through his inventory, or the items in the shop. Soon, he found something in the Sin shop, level 50 equipment. Evil Spirit Set, requires level 50. After wearing it, the wearer can transform into evil spirits at any time. All strength increased by 50 times, defense increased by 50 times, speed increased by 10 times. When the wearer enters evil spirits mode, all attacks become long-range attacks. They can attack anything within 10 miles. Also, they have a burning effect. Critical hit rate increased by 20%. This was the enhanced version of the Evil Dragon set. It seemed like it would only appear after buying the Evil Dragon set. At the very least, there was no new equipment set above the Sword Master equipment set. It was obviously an upgraded version, and the new equipment set could only appear after purchasing it. This effect was simply heaven-defying. Not only was it 50 times stronger, but it could also become a long-range attack, and it could even attack a range of 10 li. After seeing the price of 1 million sin points, he could only silently close the sin shop. He couldn't afford it at all. Even if he had 1 million sin points, his level was still not high enough. He needed to be at least level 50, which meant that he had to break through to the peak of core transformation stage to be able to buy it. Of course, he didn't know if he would be able to accumulate 1 million sin points. How many evil people would he need to kill to get that many sin points? He looked through the Heavenly Thunder Divine Bead and other treasures, but they were not very useful in this place. Some of the treasures were quite powerful, but they were of little use against General Feng. It could be said that they were negligible. I know what to do now. His eyes lit up, and he immediately spent a large sum of money in the merchant shop. After exchanging for some items, he quickly transformed into an evil dragon and pounced toward General Feng, who was crazily chopping down trees. Just in time. When General Feng saw this, a cold light shot out from his eyes. He swung the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword in his hand and slashed at Yi Tianyun. Shadow Clone. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun's body suddenly trembled. His body flickered, and the 3 evil dragons appeared beside him. They were of the same size, and the auras they released were also exactly the same. In an instant, he was confused as to who was the real one. So it's this move. It's meaningless to me. General Feng's eyes turned cold as the blood in his body started to burn. This time, he was going all out. He was determined to make Yi Tianyun stay. After thoroughly stimulating the blood essence in his body, his strength suddenly rose by a large margin, reaching an extremely strong strength, breaking through almost 60 million battle power. If he didn't even have this little bit of combat power, then it would be a waste of his blood essence. After igniting his blood essence, both his strength and speed had increased by a large margin. He fiercely swung the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword in his hand in midair, and with a whoosh, he disappeared in the air. It wasn't that he disappeared, but that his speed was so fast that people couldn't clearly see where he was. Yi Tianyun only saw an afterimage appear on the side. It was flashing, and he couldn't catch it at all. This speed was too fast. After General Feng used all his strength, he was really as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of Luo Yunyang and ruthlessly slashed down. A gust of wind transformed into an incomparably sharp blade light that slashed down. When it slashed past one of the evil dragons, it was easily cut off. Without a doubt, this was a fake. The defense of the clone was far weaker than the real one, so it was easily cut off. The moment it was cut off, the clone turned into powder with a bang. General Feng didn't stop and continued to swing to the side, slashing at another evil dragon. Clang! This slash seemed to have hit a hard iron plate. There was no doubt that he had hit the right person. This was indeed Yi Tianyun's real body. Yi Tianyun wasn't sent flying by this swift and violent slash. Instead, he forcefully pushed forward. His aura instantly surged. After consuming the berserk elixir that he had bought earlier, he could temporarily increase his explosive power by 2 times. Because his cultivation was too high, his explosive power was still relatively limited. He even had to ignite his blood essence. His combat power skyrocketed, but it was still inferior to General Feng's strength. There was still a huge gap between the two of them. Although there was a gap in strength, Yi Tianyun still stubbornly pushed forward and clashed with General Feng. The two evil dragon doppelgangers on the side had already charged over. The two evil dragons aimed at General Feng and spat out black flames. Two thick black flames shot out and immediately enveloped General Feng. However, they only covered the surface and didn't enter his body. "You want to hurt me with mere flames?" General Feng sneered. "So these are your clones? No matter how tough you are today, you will still be cut in half by me." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up as he fought with General Feng. One of the evil dragon's mouth spewed out flames, and suddenly, a medicinal pill flashed and rushed towards General Feng's body along with the flames. The pill penetrated General Feng's protective shield and entered his body. This elixir wasn't a recovery elixir, but a bad luck elixir. This bad luck elixir wasn't an ordinary elixir. There were many things that couldn't stop this elixir from entering one's body. Unless one dodged it, it would enter one's body. When he saw the bad luck elixir silently enter his body, Yi Tianyun revealed a smile and said softly, "Activate, bad luck elixir." Ding! Successfully activated the effects of the bad luck elixir. Effect lasts for 5 minutes. Just as he finished speaking, General Feng, who was slashing over, suddenly felt that something was wrong with his body. Following that, the green dragon scales on the surface of his body trembled and suddenly disappeared. At the same time, a wave of energy exploded from within his body. Pfft! Streams of blood spurted out from the surface of his body. General Feng screamed and fell from the sky. He spun a few times in the air before landing on the ground. "What's going on? I actually suffered a backlash." General Feng was shocked. Chapter 357. Seeing that General Feng was suffering from the backlash, Yi Tianyun's eyes revealed a cold glint. He instantly opened his mouth and spat out black flames that enveloped General Feng. Take advantage of his weakness to kill him. This was the effect he needed. After browsing through the shop for a while, he finally settled on the Berserk pill and Bad Luck pill. The combination of these two would have a great effect. Especially the Bad Luck pill. If he were to fight with the other party, it would definitely give him an advantage. Although it wasn't an absolute advantage, it would at least have a certain interference effect. The current situation was the best proof. After receiving the effects of the Bad Luck pill, General Feng immediately suffered from the backlash and his battle prowess plummeted. When the black flames swept over, General Feng hurriedly dodged to the side. However, he had only taken 2 steps when his leg suddenly hooked onto a sturdy tree vine. It wrapped around him and he fell to the ground with a paw. Following that, the black flames enveloped him and completely burned him. "Ah!" General Feng screamed in pain. Due to the backlash, he couldn't release his spiritual energy to block it. He could only use the armor he was wearing to block it. However, even armor required spiritual energy to be infused in order to release its effects. Therefore, the black flames successfully ignited him and burned the surface of his body, causing him to scream in pain. Scram! General Feng let out a furious roar and hurriedly circulated the energy within his body. In the next instant, he finally managed to suppress the power of the backlash. Following that, he unleashed a burst of energy which exploded in all directions with a boom. The black flames wrapped around his body were all dispersed. However, a large area of his body was still charred and looked terrible. The black flames restrained him in the first place. Therefore, after it was ignited, the effect was very obvious. Pucci, after General Feng dispersed the black flames on his body, he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. After the backlash was forcefully broken through, it caused him quite a bit of damage. Coupled with the fact that he was burning his blood essence, it could be said that he was now even more injured than before. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun had already charged over. He didn't know when he had transformed back into his human form. He even wielded the Red Dragon Divine Spear and wore the Red Dragon Battle Armor and Red Dragon Battle Boots. He immediately equipped a set of Sage equipment. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Divine Spear. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Battle Armor. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Battle Boots. Ding! You have successfully equipped the Red Dragon equipment set. You have gained 12 times your strength and 5 times your defense. There is also a chance to release the Red Dragon's shadow when attacking. Ding! Consumes 5,000 crazy point to cast Red Dragon's Roar. The defense of the Red Dragon equipment set was far inferior to that of the Evil Dragon equipment set, but it had a significant advantage in terms of strength. At the very least, it was a level stronger than the Evil Dragon set equipment, and it would allow him to become even more powerful. The Evil Dragon equipment set was extremely effective in group battles. After all, its large body could deal with more enemies. Coupled with its thick defense, it could become an extremely powerful meat shield. For now, he did not need it. He needed more power to kill this General Feng in a one-on-one fight. Taking advantage of General Feng's injuries, he ruthlessly defeated him. Ding! Consuming Gale God Pill. Then, he swallowed a Blast Divine Pill, and his speed instantly increased by several times. With a "shio" sound, his crimson figure drew out a red afterimage, and fiercely charged towards General Feng. Just in time. General Feng needed to face Yi Tianyun head-on. He held the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword in his hand and stabbed towards Yi Tianyun, but 2 black flames swept towards his back. So he can only quickly dodge to the side, but Yi Tianyun is already there, fiercely stabbing forward. Yi Tianyun's speed actually caught up with General Feng, which surprised the other party. How did his speed suddenly increase so much? The moment he approached General Feng, he consumed 5,000 crazy point. Red Dragon's Roar. Roar! A giant red dragon roared out from his body, instantly opening its huge mouth to spit out a red beam of light, forcing General Feng to swing his sword to block it. Streaks of wind blades slashed over. However, this red beam of light was not an ordinary attack, but a fire attack. When it came into contact with General Feng's wind attribute, it instantly activated the power of the damage bonus. Dong! Yi Tianyun's combat power suddenly increased to 55 million. Compared to General Feng's previous combat power, it was still a little worse, but in a battle, if the opponent was weaker, it would be a different story. General Feng let out a low snort before his body was penetrated by the flames. He was completely engulfed by the flames and was rapidly set ablaze. Just when he was covered by the flame, 2 more black flames came from his back. The 2 evil dragon clones on the side were not just for decoration, and kept attacking him. Their power was far inferior to Yi Tianyun's, but they were definitely not weak. They both had the power of Spirit Core, and no one would complain about it. I want you to die. General Feng bellowed and a dazzling light burst out from his body, dispersing the flames wrapping around his body. His hair was disheveled and densely packed veins flickered on his body. It was as though he had gone mad, unleashing all of his power. General Feng did not expect that after suffering so many attacks, he could still recover and increase his power again. Then, ignoring the attacks behind him, he sprinted towards Yi Tianyun, thrusting his sword at him. Shio! The next moment, the sword pierced through Yi Tianyun's shoulder, and blood splattered to the side. Fortunately, he dodged quickly, or else there would really be a bloody hole on his shoulder. You should be the one to die. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. It seemed that the bad luck divine pill was also unable to control everything. Now, he could only rely on himself. He raised the Red Dragon Divine Spear and rushed over, colliding with the opponent's weapon. Dang! 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 After a few consecutive attacks, a red dragon's shadow suddenly whizzed out from the red dragon divine spear, biting towards General Feng. Although the power was not shocking, it won in the suddenness. Bang! The violent attack landed on General Feng's body, causing his body to tremble, and his face became a bit pale. However, he did not retreat, and instead fiercely attacked again. He waved his astonishing long sword and stabbed several times in a row, and several wind blade slashes turned into a green light that pierced through. Shadow Cloak. Yi Tianyun used the Shadow Cloak without hesitation, and was invincible for 5 seconds. 5 seconds was enough for him to burst out a lot of attacks. Bang, bang, bang. 3 wind blade slashes flew over, and then disappeared into the Shadow Cloak, not causing any damage to him. General Feng was stunned, he did not expect his attack to be ineffective. Chapter 358. Dang, dang, dang. Roar. After a few stabs, the red dragon's phantom attack was triggered again. It roared and slammed into General Feng's body. Yi Tianyun's attacks became more and more ferocious and coherent. Every time he attacked, a red dragon's phantom attack would be released, pushing General Feng back a few steps. On the other hand, his attacks had no effect at all as they were all absorbed by the Shadow Cloak. However, after absorbing a few more times, the Shadow Cloak on General Feng's body was broken. It didn't even last 5 seconds before it was destroyed. It was obvious that after absorbing to a certain level, it would still be destroyed. Especially when the opponent's attacks were so powerful. Nothing was truly invincible, and the Shadow Cloak was no exception. After exceeding a certain level, it was inevitable that it would be destroyed. After it was destroyed, Yi Tianyun didn't stop attacking. He continued to clash with General Feng and see who could last until the end. Dang, dang, dang. The weapons collided with each other again and again, but General Feng's power was getting weaker and weaker. Under Yi Tianyun's attack, General Feng was forced to retreat again and again, and it seemed like he was losing his strength. After suffering a few attacks in a row and suffering from the backlash, even if he had a final burst of energy, it was only for a short moment. After the Shadow Cloak blocked a few of his attacks, General Feng was already running out of energy. All that was left was to take a beating. The two just remained silent like that. The only sounds that could be heard were the footsteps, the clashing of weapons, and the sound of weapons piercing through bodies. Swish, swish, swish. Another few wind blades swept over and ruthlessly cut into Yi Tianyun's body. Although he was wearing the red dragon battle armor, he still couldn't avoid a few deep cuts. Armor wasn't invincible and could only block a portion of the power. Especially when the power exceeded a certain range, it would penetrate the surface of the armor and cause damage to the body. It wasn't just the surface of the armor that would cause damage to the body. The penetration power of spiritual energy was very strong. Sometimes, before the armor was damaged, the body of the person wearing it had already collapsed. Yi Tianyun was expressionless. He ignored the injuries on his body and continued to smash down with the red dragon spear in his hand. The power he erupted with was not much weaker than General Feng's. After a few consecutive attacks, he immediately summoned the red dragon phantom. Just this alone was enough to widen the distance between them little by little. When General Feng was continuously pushed back, the outcome of the battle was already decided. Let go. Yi Tianyun suddenly raised his spear and ruthlessly smashed it against General Feng's arm. With a "pa" sound, General Feng's arm twisted backwards from the impact. At the same time, the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand was sent flying. After spinning a few rounds in the air, it finally sank into the giant tree. General Feng had a shocked expression on his face. He never thought that the speed that he was so proud of would lose to a junior tyrant soul. At this moment, Yi Tianyun saw the opportunity. His eyes flickered with 2 dragon souls as they whizzed over and stabbed at General Feng's chest. 2 dragon souls burst out from the spear, followed by another red dragon phantom. Suddenly, 3 red dragon phantom images appeared and ruthlessly smashed over. Boom! General Feng didn't even have time to dodge. He could only watch as the attack landed on his body and sent him flying. After flying for a long distance, he crashed into a huge tree. Bang, 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 he smashed through the giant trees one after another. After smashing through a few giant trees, he smashed into the last giant tree. His entire body caved in as if he was embedded inside. Pfff, General Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as a sheet and he looked rather terrifying. His last breath was forced out by Yi Tianyun, causing him to be completely exhausted. He didn't have the slightest bit of strength to use. He had burned his blood essence for too long, causing him to be severely overdrawn. His last bit of strength had been forced out. He was destined to lose. Impossible, impossible. How can I lose? I am the invincible general. In the end, General Feng still stared at Yi Tianyun. However, his gaze was gradually collapsing. Yi Tianyun's attack wasn't light and had damaged most of his internal organs. He wouldn't be able to live for long. The invincible general. There will always be a time when you lose. Yi Tianyun walked over step by step. His body was drenched in blood. He had suffered many attacks, causing his body to suffer many injuries. However, that was all. He didn't suffer any internal injuries. His current defense was much weaker than when he was wearing the evil dragon set. This was true, but his Mystic Heaven Divine Art and Golden Body Manual weren't just for show. He also had the power of the Dragon God's bloodline and powerful recovery ability. He didn't have to worry about anything. There would definitely be injuries, but they wouldn't be that bad. When Yi Tianyun killed General Long, he also obtained the Dragon God's bloodline. After fusing with it, his Dragon God's bloodline was upgraded to the 4th level. This was the reason why he dared to change to the Red Dragon set. He believed that his physique wouldn't be as weak as he thought. You win. General Feng reluctantly smiled, but it's useless. As long as you stay here, the Netherworld Empire will trample this place and kill you all. Pucci, the red dragon spear pierced his body. Yi Tianyun didn't hesitate to pierce his body, he didn't want to waste time talking to him. Don't worry, I will send them to hell and reunite with you. Yi Tianyun pulled out the red dragon spear again, and blood spurted out from his chest. General Feng fell from the giant tree and fell heavily on the ground, and there was no trace of life left in him. Yi Tianyun didn't know if General Feng could hear his last words. Ding! Successfully killed General Feng. Reward, 7,200,000 EXP, 20,000 Crazy Point, 1,000 SPs. Reward, Wind Divine Art, Wind Rush, Wind Flash. Reward, Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, Hurricane Armor, Hurricane Boots, Low-Grade Sacred Tool Set. Wind Stone, Rare. Ding! Reward, 30 million EXP, 100. 000 Crazy Point, 5. 000 SPs, 1 Enhanced Lottery Roulette Ticket. A bunch of rewards popped up. The reward for killing a higher level expert was quite good. Maybe it wasn't a lot, but overall it was still very good. In particular, there was an additional chance to draw the lottery roulette, which added up to 2 chances. Chapter 359. It's finally over. Yi Tianyun took a deep breath. This difficult battle was finally over. If he hadn't used some skills, he wouldn't have been able to deal with General Feng. Just a bad luck divine pill was enough to injure him, causing his fighting strength to drop sharply. Because of this, he couldn't use his full strength. He could only use the strength of a 2nd-level Void Spirit stage expert. Especially towards the end, his attacks were too weak to last for too long. After suffering so many attacks, it was hard for him not to die. Fighting someone of a higher level was not something that could be done casually. Just relying on brute force was not enough. Sometimes, one needed to scheme. Otherwise, there was no way he could deal with this General Feng. It was too difficult to rely on brute force to fight against someone stronger than him. No matter what, he had successfully killed General Feng, and there was one less threat. There were many void spirit stage experts in the Netherworld Empire. Although General Feng was said to be the third strongest expert in the Netherworld Empire, Yi Tianyun didn't know whether it was true or not. The Netherworld Empire's overbearing behavior wasn't without reason. Overbearing behavior was certainly backed by an overbearing force, otherwise, the Netherworld Empire wouldn't have been able to act so arrogantly. When he was about to plunder General Feng's belongings, a sharp light pierced through his back. Yi Tianyun immediately felt danger coming from behind, and when he wanted to turn around to attack, a whip lashed at him, and with a "pa" sound, the sneak attacker was sent flying. "You actually dared to kill our general. You're dead for sure." The one who was sent flying was the Wind Divine Soldier. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. After being struck by the whip, the damage he received was not low. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that the person who helped him deal with the attacker was Yi Qingxian. He didn't expect that Yi Qingxian didn't leave. When she saw Yi Tianyun being attacked, she immediately came out to help. "Your Netherworld Empire is the one who is going to die." Yi Qingxuan's eyes turned cold. She whipped the Divine Wind Soldier again. "Pa!" The Divine Wind Soldier's head exploded. She was clearly a weak woman, but when she exploded out, she didn't hold back at all. If she wanted to kill, she would kill, and she didn't hold back. It should be said that she would never show mercy to her enemies, especially the people of the Netherworld Empire. She hated them to the bone. If it wasn't for the Netherworld Empire, how could the spirit race become like this? "Didn't you leave? Why are you back?" Yi Tianyun walked over and found that Yi Qingxuan's body was swaying. He supported her and found that her face was frighteningly pale. "I originally wanted to go back, but after thinking about it, I decided to stay here and keep an eye on you. If anything happens, I can still help." Yi Qingxian smiled. "I didn't expect you to defeat General Feng. You are indeed our king. Did you carve a divine sigil of heaven and earth?" Yi Tianyun stared at her, his expression darkening. Yi Qingxuan's cultivation wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. She could still help when necessary. As a member of the spirit race, he had mastered quite a few divine inscriptions. Some of the forbidden divine inscriptions were especially powerful. Yi Tianyun knew that, but it wasn't easy to carve it out. Moreover, it would consume a lot of energy. It was basically an effect that was exchanged for his life. How could he casually carve this out? The spirit race had a very powerful divine sigil called Divine Sigil of Heaven and Earth. It was a divine sigil that every saintess and spirit king had mastered. The entire spirit race could only be controlled by the spirit king and the saintess. According to the grade, this divine sigil of heaven and earth could only be considered as a 5th grade divine sigil. Was a 5th grade divine sigil that high? Of course not. Although there weren't many 5th grade divine sigil masters, there were definitely a lot of them. Most of them could carve this divine sigil of heaven and earth. But the effect was quite strong. Whether it was a weapon, a pellet, or even the body, they could all use this divine sigil of heaven and earth. The effect was simple and violent. It instantly increased the effect by 5 times, and it lasted for the time it took for a joss stick to burn. If it was used on a weapon, it could increase the damage by 5 times, if it was used on a pellet, it could increase the effect by 5 times, if it was used on the body, it could increase the strength by 5 times. It was simple and violent. Not to mention a 5th grade divine sigil, even a grandmaster divine sigil wouldn't have such a heaven-defying effect. But the more heaven-defying the effect was, the greater the price needed. To carve this divine sigil, one needed to use one's own blood. It could be said that to carve a divine sigil of heaven and earth, it would take half of one's blood. The consumption was especially high. Unless it was a critical moment, no one would do this. This was why they didn't want to spread the news. Other than the rarity of the divine sigil, they were afraid that it would bring great trouble to the spirit tribe. Because only a spirit tribe member could carve this divine sigil. Only the blood of a spirit tribe member would be effective. The blood of a normal person would have no effect. Because of this, a large number of spirit tribe members were captured and not killed. Unless they had no other choice, they wouldn't kill spirit tribe members. The reason was simple. They wanted to use their blood to carve this divine sigil. Knowing this divine sigil wasn't enough. They also needed the blood of a spirit tribe member. That was the most basic requirement. Similarly, everyone in the spirit tribe knew this divine sigil. That would be a great threat to them. They would be forced to use their own blood to carve the divine sigil. Otherwise, they would die. This was like carrying a fortune. How could they not die if they didn't hand it over? Yi Tianyun also knew this divine sigil, but he couldn't use it. But he could keep it and pass it on to other spirit tribe members in the future. This was what Yi Qingxian had thought. If she died, and the ancestor died, no one else would be able to carve this divine sigil. At a critical moment, this could be of some use. If Yi Qingxian used it on herself, she would be able to instantly unleash a powerful force. Even though it wouldn't be as powerful as General Feng, she would at least be able to save Yi Tianyun once she unleashed it. Other than this divine sigil of heaven and earth, there were other divine sigil as well. The spirit tribe's foundation wasn't that simple. She stayed here because she believed that she could help. As long as she risked her life, she might be able to save Yi Tianyun. Luckily, the tragedy didn't happen, so she could still stand in front of Yi Tianyun. But now, she looked like she was half dead. Yes. Yi Qingshuan's face was frighteningly pale. The side effects were starting to show. She had even helped to send an ambusher flying. Didn't I say that I can escape? I won't fight this bastard to the death. Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. Who knows if our king will fight General Feng to the death? Yi Qingxian smiled. But it's good that you're fine. Keep this divine sigil. It's useful to you. Chapter 360. Looking at the heaven and earth divine rune, Yi Tianyun was very touched. When he saw Yi Qingshuan's pale face, he knew something was wrong. Sure enough, it was really to carve the heaven and earth divine rune. If he couldn't win, Yi Qingxian would use it on him to help him. If he was seriously injured and couldn't escape, Yi Qingxian would definitely use it on herself to help him escape. Now that she didn't use it, Yi Qingxian naturally chose to give it to him. But seeing the crimson color on it, Yi Tianyun's heart tightened, he really felt guilty. It's really hard for Yi Qingxian to do this for him. Really, you don't listen to me, forget it, I won't pursue this matter with you. Yi Tianyun motioned her to sit down, and then took out the blood jade. This thing has not been used up yet, there is still more than half of its effect left. This is an absolute rare item, the price in the mall is as high as 1 million crazy points, he really can't bear to use it. Last time, Shi Shuayun used a lot, but there is still more than half left, proving that there is still a lot of it. But as his cultivation gets stronger, the consumption will also increase. In the future, it will reach a terrifying level. Quickly use this blood jade to recover, otherwise it will be detrimental to your future cultivation. Yi Tianyun stuffed the blood jade into her arms and motioned her to quickly absorb it. What kind of treasure is this? I feel that the blood qi is too strong. When Yi Qingxian grabbed the blood jade, she felt a strong blood qi rushing out and drilling into her body, she felt very comfortable. Who cares what kind of treasure it is, as long as it has a good recovery effect. Yi Tianyun said, quickly absorb it and absorb back the blood qi. This treasure is too rare, there are too few treasures that can replenish blood qi, you can keep it. Yi Qingxian pushed the blood jade back to him. Be obedient, use it for me. I am now ordering you as a spirit king, not as a friend, understand? Yi Tianyun said with a straight face. Alright, I'll use it, I'll use it. Yi Qingxian smiled sweetly as she took the blood jade and began to absorb it. As she absorbed it, a thick blood aura quickly entered her body, causing her pale face to turn rosy in an instant. The effect of the blood jade stone was astonishing. It was immediately effective. Yi Qingshuan's complexion had recovered quite a bit after just absorbing for a short while. This is too miraculous. In just a short while, I can feel my blood and qi recovering quite a bit. Where did this come from? I've never seen such a miraculous thing. Even elixirs that can replenish blood essence can't be replenished so quickly. It takes a long time to recover so much. Yi Qingxian was deeply shocked. I found this by chance. Don't worry too much about it. Let's replenish it first. I have a few hundred pieces of something similar. You can absorb as much as you want. Yi Tianyun gestured for her to continue absorbing. In order to make it easier for her to absorb, he lied to her about 100 pieces of blood jade. A few hundred pieces. This is too unbelievable. You lied to me. Yi Qingxian pouted, feeling that something was wrong. What did I lie to you about? Hurry up and absorb it, understand? Yi Tianyun glared at her and said. Alright, alright. Yi Qingxian felt very helpless as she began to absorb. In just a short while, she had absorbed about half of the blood jade stone and replenished the blood essence that she had used. Her entire aura was no different from before. Previously, she looked sickly and could not even walk steadily. It was difficult to replenish such a state even with cultivation. She needed to consume many elixirs and a few years to completely recover. Otherwise, General Long and the others would not be willing to burn their blood essence unless it was the most critical moment. If they were not forced into a corner, they would not be willing to burn their blood essence. It was too difficult to recover. If they overused their blood essence, it would affect their cultivation greatly. That was why they did not dare to use it casually. If they could recover quickly, they would have used it earlier during the battle. In some cases, they would have used it right from the beginning of the battle. There was no need to wait until the end. I have recovered. This thing is really amazing. Yi Qingxian returned the blood jade stone to Yi Tianyun and asked doubtfully, are there really a few hundred pieces? Of course. Yi Tianyun took it with a smile and added, I just don't know where it is. You really lied to me. Yi Qingxian snorted, feeling very dissatisfied. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, alright, don't worry about this. Let's hurry up and leave. If this matter were to spread, it would be difficult for us to leave this place. Alright. Yi Qingshuan's expression darkened. She knew that this was a serious matter. After looting the treasures, Yi Tianyun quickly left with Yi Qingxian. They first went to the spirit tribe's village to check on the situation. By the time they returned, however, the astrals had already been evacuated. Basically everything they could take with them had been taken with them. Everyone in the spirit tribe had a storage ring, so it was very easy for them to take away valuables, including the vital crystal. Apart from that, there was nothing else that could be taken away. It was a pity that the spirit tower could not be taken away. Spirit tower. Yi Qingxian looked at the spirit tower for the last time and sighed, in the end, we still have to leave this place, this is a temporary evacuation. If we destroy the Netherworld Empire in the future, we can still come back. Yi Tianyun comforted her. Yes, destroy the Netherworld Empire. Yi Qingshuan's silver eyes flashed with a cold light. Immediately, they left the place and flew towards the assembly point. When they arrived, all the spirit tribe's people were already there. When they saw Yi Qingxian and Yi Qingshuan's return, their faces were full of surprise. The Spirit King is back, the Spirit King is back. They all cried out in surprise. They were relieved to see the Spirit King return. I have something to announce here. The Spirit King has personally killed General Feng and killed a great general of the Netherworld Empire. Yi Qingxian announced as soon as she came up. All of a sudden, everyone was shocked. Then, they burst into cheers as if they wanted to tear this place apart. The Spirit King is too powerful. I said that the Spirit King is not afraid of General Feng. Yes, our Spirit King is invincible. He is the strongest. Nonsense. Weren't you worried that the Spirit King would not be able to escape? I was worried for a while. They shouted one after another, and the popularity of Yi Tianyun has increased a lot, and Yi Tianyun's prestige has greatly increased. Spirit King, I wonder what we should do now. Elder Yen and the others thought about the future after the excitement. Chapter 361. When Yi Tianyun and the others left quietly, General Feng's death shocked the entire Netherworld Empire and the Heavenly Boundary Continent. General Feng had led the entire divine armament of wind to perish there. When he sent people to investigate, all they saw was a pile of corpses. There wasn't a single survivor. Since no one had returned, he knew that they had all been killed, which meant that they had failed. Just like General Long, it was a complete failure. General Feng is dead. Both of them are dead. The Netherworld Great Emperor was thoroughly enraged. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions, causing many ministers to tremble and not dare to speak. The imperial advisor's face darkened. Your Majesty, please allow me to lead a team of celestial masters to destroy the spirit race. Good. Send out the heavenly masters and General Cheng as well. We're going to flatten the spirit race. The Netherworld Emperor was thoroughly enraged. He wanted to personally go and exterminate the spirit race, but since the Imperial Preceptor had said so, he would let the Imperial Preceptor go. He still needed to stay here. Yes, Your Majesty. The Imperial Preceptor did not say a word. After bowing, he quickly left the place, his eyes filled with killing intent. As the imperial advisor of the Netherworld Empire, he had to take care of the face of the Netherworld Empire. He had a good relationship with the two generals. Now that they were dead, how could he not be angry? What a blunder! We lost two generals at once. How did General Feng become like this? Even if he can't defeat them, he can still escape. The Netherworld Emperor's eyes were filled with anger. Two of his generals were dead, so he couldn't help but be angry. Especially when he had lost face. The entire empire had lost face. Who is it? I don't believe that the spirit race has such a powerful force. Is it really the Heavenly Dragon Empire? The Netherworld Emperor said in a deep voice. Impossible. The Heavenly Dragon Empire can't even take care of itself now. How can they help? If I find out which force is behind this, I will definitely lead the Netherworld Legion to flatten them. Even if it's the Heavenly Dragon Empire, I will destroy them. The Netherworld Emperor grabbed the dragon throne next to him and crushed it. Bang! The dragon throne turned into powder. Time and time again, things kept pushing his bottom line, which was beyond his expectations. If it weren't for the Netherworld Empire's current problems, he would have personally taken action to flatten the spirit forest. The imperial teacher brought General Cheng along with him. General Cheng's cultivation was slightly lower, first-level void spirit stage. He had just broken through not long ago. The imperial advisor personally led the team to flatten the spirit race forest. This was all for the sake of insurance. If even the imperial tutor could not defeat them, then no one would be able to flatten the spirit race. The most important thing was to find out exactly what kind of faction was there. After all, the people they had sent out had not come back to report, so they had no idea what was going on. Soon, they all arrived outside the spirit tribe forest. A group of people stood outside majestically. The imperial preceptor looked at the area coldly. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to take action personally. You're dead meat. The Imperial Preceptor sneered and quickly rushed into the Spirit Race forest. His divine rune level was not low, so he was not afraid of the formation. After a while, the Imperial Preceptor frowned and walked out of the forest. No wonder, this formation is activated to the maximum. There must be a divine rune grandmaster controlling it. It seems like I have to break it. Immediately, the Imperial Preceptor started to set up a formation outside, preparing to break the formation. After carefully studying it for a while, he began to break the maze formation. However, after spending a few days, he finally broke the maze formation. I've broken through the disorienting formation. Everyone, charge! Capture all the Spirit Race members for me, alive! The Imperial Preceptor shouted and took the lead to charge in. Many people roared and charged in with murderous intent. Everyone was excited. They were finally going to flatten the Spirit Race. How could they not be excited? When they rushed in, they found that it was empty. There was not a single person inside, and they were immediately dumbfounded. There was not a single Spirit Race person. All the houses were empty. Everything had been taken away. What's going on? Did they all leave? The Imperial Preceptor was stunned. He immediately denied, impossible. They couldn't have left. If they did, they would be dead meat. The Imperial Preceptor knew a lot about the Spirit Race. He naturally knew that if they left, they would not be able to reproduce. If they left, they would be dead meat. But now, they had all run away. Search. Search all of them. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find them. The Imperial Preceptor was furious and immediately gave the order. Wouldn't this be a wasted trip? It was as embarrassing as running away. Yes. They quickly went to search. Needless to say, they did not find anything. The only thing they could find were the houses. The rest had been taken away. They really left. It seems like they have given up resisting and have chosen to leave. Alright, tear down this pagoda. The Imperial Preceptor said coldly, if that's the case, I will tear down this pagoda and burn it down. The Imperial Preceptor was also angry. He ordered everyone to start destroying the pagoda and completely destroy the Spirit Race. At the same time, Yi Tianyun had already secretly brought people to the Earth border continent. It took him a long time. After all, many people could not fly, so they could only move on foot. To be more accurate, they moved on Earth dragons. He caught a lot of Earth dragons, which could be used as a means of transportation. Overall, their speed was quite fast. Moreover, they chose a relatively remote area, so generally, no one found them. It was very safe to evacuate from here. In front of us is the Heavenly Jade sect. We will temporarily settle down there. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw the familiar Heavenly Jade sect in front of him. There was no problem. From a distance, he could see many disciples training. The people behind him looked over curiously. They all wanted to see what the residence of their spirit king looked like. Who is it? Elder Yi. When they saw a group of people following behind them, and all of them were riding earth dragons, they were dumbfounded. They had never seen so many dragons before. Their pretty faces were pale with fright. Fortunately, they saw an acquaintance coming, otherwise, they would have sounded the alarm. Well, these are our distinguished guests. Open the door and let us in. Yi Tianyun gestured. Yes, yes. They hurriedly opened the door and let them in. Following Yi Tianyun and a group of people walked in, Shi Shuiyun happened to be outside. When she saw Yi Tianyun, she was stunned. Chapter 362. In the past, Yi Tianyun would only bring back 1 or 2 earth dragons, but this time, he brought back a whole group of them. And there are dozens of earth dragons, how can Shi Shuiyun not be dumbfounded? If they all joined Heavenly Jade sect, it would be a huge deal. Aunt, I'm back. Yi Tianyun looked at Shi Shuiyan's shocked expression and said with a smile, "There are a lot of things that need to be explained in detail. Let's have an elder meeting as usual, there is one thing that needs to be clarified." Okay. No problem. Shi Shuiyan rolled her eyes and said, "Let's go, let's see how you explain it." Yi Qingxian and the others looked around and followed Yi Tianyun into the heavens immersing ancient ruins. When Yi Tianyun walked in, he found that the place was repaired quite well. It doesn't look much different from the new place, he just needs to continue to repair it and it will be completely new. The divine runes here. It seems like they were made by our spirit race. The spirit race old ancestor looked around and said in surprise. It should be, the original owner of this place asked a divine rune master to carve it, but I don't know who did it. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, "From now on, we will stay here, this place will become our base." They all nodded, they don't have any opinion on what Yi Tianyun said. As long as they have a place to settle down, that's more than enough. Soon, they entered the meeting room, followed by the elders and old ancestor of the spirit race. These are the people of the spirit race, I believe you all have heard about it. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "I don't need to say much, I am now the king of the spirit race, because of the Netherworld Empire's problem, I brought them here to take refuge, at the same time, I plan to ask the spirit race to give us an independent space. In essence, it is equivalent to joining our heavenly Jade sect, but not merging together, it is the same as before, one sect with two sects, now there are 3 sects." Yi Tianyun's words shocked Shi Shuiyan and the others. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tianyun had become the king of the spirit race. This was simply inconceivable. Their minds were all stupefied, and they couldn't react for a moment. Everything was too sudden, and many people had heard of the spirit race. They were extremely powerful existences. But now, he joined the Jade sect. This is unbelievable. In terms of attainment in divine inscriptions, there were very few people who could surpass the spirit race. But now, one of them had joined the Jade sect. After a while, they recovered. Shi Shuiyan glared at him and immediately smiled, "Dear guests, is there really no problem? Do you want to join our heavenly Jade sect? We will listen to the instructions of the Spirit King. We will do whatever the Spirit King says." As a representative, Yi Qingxian smiled slightly, looking at Shi Shuiyan up and down, her silver eyes flashed with a bit of colorful light. The rest of the elders didn't express their opinion, they said that they will listen to the instructions of Yi Tianyun. In the case that there are no traitors in the spirit race, the Spirit King is the most important. Unless they are told to commit suicide, they will follow the orders of the Spirit King. There is no problem in joining other sections. Anyway, they will follow the Spirit King, so of course, there is no problem. They maintain a major principle, and that is to listen to the instructions of the Spirit King. Otherwise, why would they need the Spirit King to lead them? I see, then according to Tianyun's words, I will leave it to you to manage, I don't know how to manage it. Shi Shuiyan felt that the cultivation of the group of people is very strong, which one of them isn't stronger than them? Obviously, it is impossible for them to give orders. Okay, according to what I said, from today onwards, the spirit race will officially join the Jade sect and establish a spirit gate. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, but in this way, it seems that the dual dragon mansion that we talked about before has to be changed, and the heaven's top mansion will also join. I want to change the name, after the spirit race joins us, it will become a third-grade force, so we have to rename it. Everyone looked at each other, they don't know how to name it, it is a bit difficult. How about this, how about we name it after you? Shi Shuiyan thought for a moment and suggested, let's call it Heavenly Clouds Mansion, how about it? We will take you as the center, whether it is an empire or a stronger force in the future, we will all be named after heavenly clouds. This name suddenly made everyone's eyes light up. Although there is nothing new, they were originally led by Yi Tianyun, so there is no problem in naming it after him. This proves that it is his force, and it is a force that he manages. I don't think that's a good idea. Yi Tianyun was a little embarrassed to use his own name to name it. Spirit King, it is decided, we will name it after you, so that your name can be widely spread in the future. Yi Qingxian agreed with the proposal and felt very satisfied. Yes, Heavenly Jade's sect is not like this, old ancestor's name is Tianyuan, so that the younger generation will know that you are the founder of the sect. Shi Shuyin said. Yi Tianyun pondered for a moment, and his eyes lit up. Well, from today onwards, the two forces will merge and officially establish a Heavenly Clouds mansion, a third-grade force. He officially announced, reaching the perfect agreement. Then, they all went out and announced this major event to the public. There was no problem in the spirit race, but it caused a stir in the Jade sect. How could they not be shocked when a force joined their Jade sect? Most of the disciples didn't know that these people were from the spirit race, and it was not convenient to reveal their identity for the time being. If any disciple leaked it, then they would be in trouble. The identity of the spirit race was very sensitive now, and if an idiot leaked it out, then they would be finished. Therefore, they only knew that a force suddenly joined, but they didn't know the rest. There was still a bit of rejection in their hearts. Suddenly joining a force was more or less a little xenophobic. But when it was said that the two forces would not interfere with each other, many people's rejection was a little better. This kind of thing still needed time to get used to, and when the time came for Heaven's top mansion to join, it also needed time to get used to it. It was obviously unreasonable to have a lot of people join halfway. Heavenly Clouds mansion was officially established, and from the task list, the number of people was instantly filled. There were a lot of experts in the spirit race, and even the weakest of them was a third-grade force. Now that they joined, they would definitely become a third-grade force. Chapter 363. At present, in order to complete the main quest, the only thing left is to transfer to Heavenly Border Continent. This can be done at any time, but the problem is that the situation is not very stable right now. If it attracts the attention of the Netherworld Empire, it will not be a good thing. It seems that the quest has to be delayed for the time being. Yi Tianyun thought for a while and said, very well, then we will move to the Heavenly Boundary Continent. Shi Shuyin and the others who are dealing with things on the side suddenly heard Yi Tianyun's words. What do you mean transfer to Heavenly Border Continent? They are all stunned, they have no idea what Yi Tianyun is talking about. I mean, we will now transfer to Heavenly Border Continent's Heaven's top mansion and officially merge the three major forces to form the strongest third-grade force. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This. We just arrived here, what if the Netherworld Empire finds out about this? Yi Qingxian was puzzled. If they find out, then we will kill them all. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw many people looking at him in shock. Of course, I'm not talking about now, but when I come back, we will transfer to Heavenly Border Continent. At that time, even the Netherworld Empire wouldn't dare to do anything to us. Where are you going now, Tianyun? Yi Qingxian was puzzled. I plan to go to Heavenly Dragon Empire. Heavenly Dragon Empire and the Netherworld Empire are mortal enemies, and I know some people there, so I think they will be very happy to cooperate with me. Yi Tianyun had already helped the Heavenly Dragon Empire's goddess, Renjiro. If he could unite with the Heavenly Dragon Empire, then everything would be fine. The most important thing is to complete some quests so that he can continue to level up and gain crazy point. As long as he can accumulate 10 million crazy point, then he can level up crazy mode. At that time, no Void Spirit stage expert will be able to defeat him. However, he was still short of 4 or 5 million. This was not a small amount. Even if he sold his entire fortune, it would not be enough. He got the Heaven grade set, but it's not worth much to sell it to the shop. It's always 10,000 crazy points. He needs to sell at least a few hundred pieces. However, he currently has less than 10 Heaven level weapons, which means he only has a few 100,000 crazy points. The same goes for Heaven level martial arts, the effect is amazing, but the store doesn't buy it, the price is so low, 10,000 crazy points. If you were to refine pills and sell them, it would be too slow to save up a few million. Moreover, the crazy point was only 1 point, it was more important to get help from the Heavenly Dragon Empire. With the help of the Netherworld Empire, Yi Tianyun would be able to directly transfer his forces to the Netherworld Empire. Going to the Heavenly Dragon Empire? That's very close to here. It's completely connected to the earthly continent. It's just that the Heavenly Dragon Empire is not doing well now, and its power has become quite weak. It seems that something big has happened in the empire. Shi Xueyun frowned and said. So, the Heavenly Dragon Empire has fallen to this point. Yi Tianyun frowned as he remembered Renjiro's hurried figure. It seemed like something big had happened. Yes, I don't know the specific situation, but the situation in the Heavenly Dragon continent is quite chaotic. If you go there, you have to be careful. Do you want us to accompany you? Shi Xueyun said worriedly. No matter what Yi Tianyun's cultivation was, Shi Xueyun was still very worried about Yi Tianyun's safety. No need, you can stay here, it's easier to act alone. Yi Tianyun thought for a moment and said to the spirit race Old Ancestor, please help me repair all the divine runes in this ancient ruin and strengthen them as much as possible. This heaven's immersing ancient ruins will be our fortress from now on, we can attack and defend. The spirit race Old Ancestor was a divine rune grandmaster. Although his cultivation was not restored, his divine rune grandmaster level was absolutely top-notch. If he could strengthen this heaven's immersing ancient ruins, it would definitely become a lot stronger. No problem, leave it to me. I've thought about it before. If I don't strengthen this divine rune properly, then even a void spirit stage powerhouse wouldn't be able to break it in a short time. The spirit race Old Ancestor was extremely confident. Apart from him, no one else would dare to say such words. Okay, I'll leave this place to you, I'll go to the Heavenly Dragon Empire first. Yi Tianyun looked at them and said. He hoped that when he came back, there would be great changes in this place, so that he could fight against the Netherworld Empire head-on. He couldn't just rely on himself, he needed to rely on everyone's strength. Yi Tianyun had some things to do, such as alchemy and lottery draw. He had already picked 3 soul accumulating grass, and after consuming all of them, he would be able to level up successfully. But before that, he wanted to draw a lottery. I have 2 lottery chances, I wonder what I can get. Yi Tianyun rubbed his palms, hoping to get something good. After activating the lottery roulette, it began to spin rapidly. Then, he activated the lucky aura, all in order to draw something good. Soon, the needle stopped and pointed at a special item type. Special item type, not bad. Yi Tianyun was very satisfied with this result, the special item type was the second rarest type, but he didn't know what it would be this time. After he opened the box, a bright red blood jade appeared in his inventory. Enhanced blood jade stone, 3 times more than blood jade stone. To put it simply, it was 3 times more than normal blood jade, which was not bad. Yi Tianyun raised his eyebrows, it was better than giving experience pills. If he didn't give tens of millions of experience pills, he wouldn't be interested in them. He needed a lot of experience pills now, and the difficulty of leveling up was too high, hundreds of thousands of experience pills were not enough to satisfy his appetite. Let's continue, I hope it will give me a surprise. Yi Tianyun spun the lottery roulette again, and soon, the needle stopped and pointed at the godly skill type. Godly skill. Yi Tianyun's heart trembled, he finally got the rarest godly skill type. He excitedly took out the box, opened it, and a godly skill was reflected in his mind. Ding! Successfully obtained godly skill, invisibility. Invisibility, godly skill, no matter if the user is attacked or attacked, he will not be revealed. Level 1, can last for 5 minutes, cooldown time is 2 hours, can guarantee that under the level of Spirit King, no one will be able to recognize the user. Chapter 364. Once he got the enhanced version of Blood Jade, and the other time he got the divine skill, it was perfect. Either way, it was the best, especially the Blood Jade, it was like a god's help to him. If he could use it to engrave the heaven and earth divine rune, he would be able to quickly replenish it. The key point is that with the Tyrant pattern paper, the meaning is completely different. The effect of the Tyrant pattern paper is simple and crude, that is, to enhance the effect by 3 times. It means that when the two are superimposed, it will become 15 times more powerful, heaven-defying. If he sticks it on his body, it will be 15 times more powerful, it's scary just thinking about it. Coupled with the crazy mode, equipment and so on, he can imagine how powerful he is. The divine skill invisibility is also a pleasant surprise, anyone under Spirit King realm can't find him. The key is that the attack will not be visible, which means that no matter how he attacks, he is not afraid of being seen. Usually, he would use a concealment divine talisman or something like that. As long as he attacked or moved, he would quickly reveal himself. But this divine skill is different, it is definitely a treasure for assassination, or a divine skill for escape. But there are still some shortcomings. If anyone under Spirit King realm can see through this invisibility, how many people can be Spirit King realm? So for now, it can be said that Sherwoody's existence is not to worry about being discovered. Sure enough, the enhanced version of the lottery roulette is really good. If I have more crazy points, I will definitely draw a lot. Tianyun shook his head, he really wanted to draw a lot, for example, 12 times. But now he needs crazy points to level up, otherwise, he really wanted to draw a lot more. After putting away these items, he started to refine the soul accumulating pill. At first, he started to refine the soul accumulating pill at the 5th refinement level. The 3 stalks of soul accumulating grass more or less wanted to try the 5th refinement. After all, the experience gained was too tempting. Bang! When refining the accumulating soul pill, there was an explosion when the pill was condensing, causing the pill to explode, it failed. This time, God didn't completely favor him, he finally failed. 60% success rate is too low, although it is more than 50% success rate, but the failure rate is still not low, he encountered it, there is no other way. Looks like God isn't on my side this time. Tianyun shook his head and started to concoct the 4th refinement level soul accumulating pill. The remaining 2 were concocted into the 4th refinement level soul accumulating pill. He didn't dare to attempt the 5th refinement level soul accumulating pill. If he failed, he wouldn't be able to level up. Ding! Successfully refined the accumulating soul pill. Gained 500,000 experience points. Alchemy proficiency gained 500 points. Ding! You have successfully refined the soul accumulating pill multiple times. The success rate of refining the soul accumulating pill has increased by 1 level. At this time, a notification popped up. Unknowingly, the success rate of concocting the soul accumulating pill had increased. The success rate of the 4th refinement of the soul accumulating pill had reached 100%, and the success rate of the 5th refinement had risen to 70%. It seemed that if he refined more, he would be able to increase his success rate instead of being stuck at this level. In the later stages, he just needed to concoct more pills. Even if he didn't raise his level, his success rate would still increase. As long as he concocted more pills, his success rate would increase. If he were to rely on leveling up his mastery to increase his success rate, it would take a long time. The system's practice makes perfect was also applicable to concocting pills. If I concoct more pills, my success rate will increase. Tianyun shook his head and sighed. Will there be enough accumulating soul grass for me to concoct? He swallowed all the accumulating soul pills he had concocted, and then a pleasant voice sounded. Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to core transformation stage level 8. Hundreds of millions of experience points allowed him to level up easily. But from now on, there was no more accumulating soul grass. He didn't know if there was any accumulating soul grass in the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Yi Tianyun then began to concoct the spirit congealing pill. This was a pill used to cultivate strong cultivators. He had spent a lot of money to buy it for Heavenly Jade's sect. With his proficiency in alchemy, he quickly concocted several batches of spirit congealing pill. It was enough for dozens of core condensation stage cultivators to cultivate. If one's cultivation was not high enough, the effect of this pill would not be great. It's almost time for me to go to the Heavenly Dragon Empire. When Yi Tianyun got up and was about to leave, Yi Qingxian was already waiting outside the door. Yi Tianyun saw her red eyes and didn't know what was going on. What's wrong? Yi Tianyun was confused. The Spirit Race Forest was destroyed by the Netherworld Empire, including the Spirit Tower. The forest was also burned. Yi Qingshuan's silver eyes were filled with anger and sadness. The forest was the place where they had lived for many years. It was very painful for them to be destroyed. It's okay, the whole Netherworld Empire will be buried with us. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The Netherworld Empire was really ruthless. They destroyed the place when they couldn't find anyone. He didn't expect that they would actually do it. Yes. Yi Qingxian nodded. Spirit King, are you ready to leave? Yes, I don't have much time. If they find out something, it will be very troublesome. Yi Tianyun knew that they were safe for the time being, but it didn't mean that they wouldn't find out later. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. As for how long they could hide, Yi Tianyun didn't know. After all, they were moving here, so they would be found out sooner or later. Yi Qingxian nodded and didn't say anything. Immediately after Yi Tianyun said a few words, he was ready to leave. When he was about to leave, he saw Shi Shuyan standing at the door. The white figure still looks so beautiful. Aunt. Yi Tianyun came to her side, smelling the familiar fragrance, let him have a feeling of peace of mind. Shi Shuyan's cultivation had improved again. It should be said that all the disciples of Heavenly Jade's sect had made great progress. Are you ready to leave? Shi Shuyan turned her head and looked at Yi Tianyun with melancholy in her eyes. Yes, as soon as possible. We can't continue to delay. Yi Tianyun looked at her beautiful face and said, Aunt, you have lost weight. You have worked hard these days. He can see that Shi Shuyan is more haggard than before. It's obvious that she worked a lot day and night, and she looks more haggard. Compared to you, it is nothing. Shi Shuyan smiled slightly. I believe that with you, the sect will become more and more glorious. Yes, I will make the sect more and more powerful. No one will dare to bully our heavenly cloud mansion. Yi Tianyun's eyes were firm. He had always been aiming for this goal. If he was too weak, he would be bullied, so he must become stronger. I believe you can do it. Shi Shuyan smiled. It's getting late. Go and come back quickly. I will wait for you here. Well, I will be back soon. This is spirit congealing pill. If you take it in spirit refinement late stage, it will be easier to break through to core condensation stage. Yi Tianyun took out a few bottles of pills and handed them to Shi Shuyan. Spirit congealing pill. This is a very rare pill recipe. How did you get it? Shi Shuyan was surprised. I found it easily. Then I will go first. Yi Tianyun smiled brightly and flew away. Chapter 365. After Yi Tianyun left, he quickly went to the Heavenly Dragon Continent. The Heavenly Dragon Continent was quite close to the Earthly Border Continent. So it didn't take long for him to reach the Heavenly Dragon Continent. I don't know what happened to Renjiro now, he remembered the previous chain quest. After tasting the sweetness, he knew that the chain quest reward is extremely high. If he can complete it, he will definitely get amazing rewards. After checking the chain quest, it was displayed. Hidden Chain Quest, Help the Empire's Goddess, Reward, 50 million EXP, 1 million Crazy Point, 200 Renjiro's Favorability, Empire's Guardian God title. This was the next quest. Now, he could prepare to complete it. However, the system wouldn't give him any instructions on how to go or how to do it. Only by finding Renjiro can he continue to complete this chain quest. Although Xiao Qin did not have any directions, knowing that it was the Heavenly Dragon Empire was enough. If he went there, he would naturally be able to find it. As he flew, he soon arrived at the Heavenly Dragon continent. This place is much richer than the earthly border continent. It can be said that it is on the same level as the Nether continent. Both of them choose a place with very rich spiritual energy to build their empire. But when he came to this area, it is obviously too chaotic. Along the way, he can see a lot of robbers. In a fit of rage, he went down to help clean up the bandits, temporarily bringing peace to the village. Thank you, great hero, thank you for your help. The villagers kneeled in front of Yi Tianyun, tears were streaming down their faces. They almost lost all their belongings and people. It's okay, I just want to ask, is it like this here? Is there no one in the Heavenly Dragon Empire to take care of this? Yi Tianyun frowned. He had heard before that this place is chaotic, but he didn't expect it to be this chaotic. Now that the Heavenly Dragon Empire is in a mess, how can there be time to take care of us? Sigh, it is hard for us ordinary people. Yes, the Heavenly Dragon Empire is in a mess now. They used to send soldiers to manage the surrounding situation, but now there is no one to help. We're planning to move to the Earth Realm continent. We can't survive here. They all shook their heads and felt hopeless towards the Heavenly Dragon Empire. If they continued to stay here, they would definitely die. They were often robbed by bandits, so there was no point in accumulating them. Looks like the current situation is indeed very serious. Yi Tianyun nodded his head, then turned around and flew away. It seemed like he didn't expect the Heavenly Dragon Empire to help him. It would be good if the Heavenly Dragon Empire didn't fall. Soon after, he passed through many cities. Most of the cities seemed to have no problems. These were all cultivators, and they were quite good at maintaining order. As for the ordinary people outside, it was different. Without any cultivation, they could only be bullied. Although the situation isn't too good, at least it's not chaotic to the point where people can't live. Yi Tianyun chose a city to land in. He was not in a hurry to go to the imperial capital. He wanted to inquire about the situation of the Heavenly Dragon Empire first. He wanted to see the details of the current situation. He would not be able to obtain any information from those villages. Looking up, the city was quite big. There was a plaque hanging on the city gate, which read, Dragon Tail City. When he was about to enter the city gate, the guard immediately stopped him. He looked at him coldly and said, the fee to enter is 10 spirit stones. 10 spirit stones? Yi Tianyun frowned, this price is not low, although it is not a problem for him, but in this chaotic situation, 10 spirit stones is a bit too expensive. If you can't afford it, then get out of here. 10 spirit stones and you still hesitate for so long. The guard was very impatient when he saw Yi Tianyun procrastinating. Yi Tianyun took out 10 spirit stones and threw them to the guard. After the guard caught them, he sneered, now it's 15 spirit stones. You still need 5 spirit stones. Suddenly raising the price, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with coldness, he didn't speak, instead, he took out 5 more spirit stones and threw it to the guard. Not bad, not bad. You're quite obedient. Go in. The guard laughed, indicating that he could go in. Yi Tianyun lifted his foot and walked in, without arguing with the guard. After he left, the 2 guards looked at each other and smiled. Hee hee, these little brats. Just by scaring them, they paid 5 spirit stones. Let's go have a drink later. That's right. It's so chaotic outside. Would they dare to not pay? This is our territory. Don't come in if you dare. The two of them laughed, their eyes full of pride. Kid, what are you looking at? Your 20 spirit stones. The guard glared at a young man who was about to enter. What? 20 spirit stones? The one just now was at most 15 spirit stones. I said your 20 spirit stones. Don't come in if you dare. The guard sneered. The young man was frightened by the guard's gaze. He could only choose to obediently take out his money. Just when he was about to take out his money, the two guards suddenly screamed and fell to the ground. They were paralyzed, unable to move. This scene shocked the surrounding people. The two guards were inexplicably sent flying, and it seemed like they were seriously injured. However, they took this opportunity to quickly sneak into the city. They didn't dare to stay here for long. Otherwise, they would get into trouble. At the same time, on the other side of the city wall, a figure appeared. It was Yi Tianyun. Then the 15 spirit stones will be your medical expenses. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. Those who provoked him would naturally not have a good ending. However, from this point, it could be seen that the seemingly peaceful city was also not easy to live in. These guards were too arrogant. They raised the price on the spot. It was completely because of the chaos outside that they increased the price. If they didn't like someone, they would immediately increase the price. If they had the ability, then don't come in. In order to save this bit of money, they didn't even know how they died outside. Then, he found a restaurant, went in, ordered some good wine, and sat on the side to drink. This was the best place to inquire about information. There were many cultivators coming and going, so it was easy to hear some news. As soon as he sat down, he immediately heard some gossip. The imperial city is in chaos now. I heard that the empire's princess has returned, causing the two factions to fight. The empire's princess is back. Is she the goddess? What's the point of suddenly coming back? Her brother is dead, so what power does she have? I'm not sure about that. There are still many forces standing by her side. However, the situation is not good. After all, Prime Minister Long has the highest prestige. If it weren't for the empire's princess, he would have already become the emperor. Isn't she courting death by coming back? Isn't that right? It's Prime Minister Long's world now. The empire's princess wants to become the empire's goddess and rule the entire empire. Isn't this a slap in Prime Minister Long's face? I suspect that the empire's princess won't be able to live for long. Shoo, don't speak so loudly. If someone hears you, I will be implicated. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.